What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
If there was another place to be on a Tuesday night that was better than here, I'd never know, because I'm locked in here every single week with all of you who also rightfully know the place to be is Dynasty Points on Tuesday nights with Fantasy Points, fantasypoints.com. Special show today. We were at a deadline. We had a deadline that we had to hit to get this very specific episode in, and we made it. And I'm happy that we did. Today we have a connoisseur of context who it might be my next favorite nickname in the space, next to what I stole from Jacob being the paragon of objectivity. Rich Hribar joining us tonight. First time you've stepped into the Dynasty Points Thunderdome with one of the most insane chats in the fantasy football space. Thank you so much for joining us in the most insane time of the year.
No, this is like the last little bit calm before the storm. I only have 2 more articles to write for the draft kit, and then I'll be doing week 1 content. So this is the perfect time. I've done all the work all summer. We've talked about all the stuff. There's nothing else to talk about. We'll see if the chat comes up with something for us to talk about. There's nothing else that we haven't covered this summer.
That's right. And speaking of the chat, Rich, one thing we like to do is be as transparent as possible, because in the world of fantasy football, you're never wrong. You're never incorrect. But
I'll tell my wife you said that.
Well, our chat likes to remind us constantly that is not the case. So here on Dynasty Points, we like to run through the Dynasty Points. Well, it's the comment review. Every week we pick our 3 to 4 favorite comments from both YouTube and Spotify, and we like to make sure we humble ourselves. And boy, did these guys did not disappoint this week. Odin X13X says, I'm not sure how I feel about my lawyer, referring to it as, quote, legal bullshit, as Jacob was referring to his seemingly second job being a lawyer last week. We have, again, former Ravens legend Kenneth Dixon 6458. Can someone tell the guys that never watch college football that Scadabo's last name is pronounced Boo, like when the monsters called the little girl in Monsters Inc. and not Bo, like the lighter-haired Duke boy from Hazard Country. And that is again referencing Cam Scadabo, as we like to say on this podcast. We have Blitz Rule 240. My daughter must find Ryan's voice soothing because she dozed off listening to him wax poetically about Bucky Irving while I was driving. Thanks for the help with nap time, Ryan.
I don't know if I take that as a compliment. I don't really want my voice to be putting children to sleep, but hey, I'll take it.
Parents everywhere will tune into this show. So Ryan, please wax poetically in the majestic voice, which that you have. And of course, Teddy Salad said, I didn't realize Lucas was even on this episode until minute 27. Let Hawk cook. Lucas, your words per minute did not go up after you took the spotlight. So the people need you to speak up.
See, I didn't feel like going on a Devi tirade whenever we had Barrett on the show. So who knows? Maybe today we'll see it. We do have no more weekends without college football for a very long time. So it's coming.
Oh, yeah. Week 0 coming up, baby.
Right.
Also, I love that the chat oscillates between complaining that Lucas doesn't talk enough, but then the one week that Lucas hosted 5 for 5, the chat was ready to have him like burnt at the stake.
Jacob, you're not in the fantasy.
Chat is fickle. Chat is fickle.
Rich, in the when you experience 5 for 5 in all its glory, you'll see the ruthlessness of the chat when it comes to Lucas. But Jacob, not only
the captain's in the chair tonight. We're going to be right on schedule.
But I am ready for the next opportunity. I have Taylor Swift themed clues all set up. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Won't be there.
Whether it's in the Fantasy Points Discord, which you can get, link in that description, the Dynasty section is free currently, or in multiple random leagues, there is a hashtag circulating that says hashtag not Lucas, hashtag free Jacob. So The people are wanting the host back in the chair, and it happens tonight. Shout out to the chat, everyone watching, listening. We love each and every single one of you guys. What we have going on today, we have the most over and undervalued offenses we're going to talk about here on the show. Then we're going to dive into some of the most intriguing offenses that maybe we haven't, dumped every bit of information yet somehow. We're going to dive into some new angles on these intriguing offenses. If we get some time, we're going to do some Q&A with man Rich here. So please drop a question. You never know. We might get to it. And then, of course, the greatest game in fantasy football history. It is 5 for 5. But let's start this off. I'm pretty sure I know who wrote the show sheet this week. Ryan, I will send to you first question for our man, Rich Hribar.
Yeah, you got it right this time. Good job, Tom. So yeah, Rich was really excited to have you on the show. And I'll just pull back the curtain for everybody. Kind of my goal with this show was I just want to get you talking about like offense-wide trends basically around the league. And it's a dynasty show, so we have to make it somewhat dynasty related. So the way I want to set this up is basically every year we see at least a few offenses in the league kind of go from 0 to hero or from hero to 0. And it brings dynasty ADPs of those players on them along with them. So for example, last offseason, believe it or not, Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne were both round 3 dynasty startup picks, much to Jacob's chagrin over there with Trevor Lawrence. And
we're going back, baby. We're getting back.
Yeah, this is the year. We'll get to them later, I'm sure. But and on the other side, we had the Buccaneers last year. We had Mayfield jump from round 7 to round 4, Bucky Irving rocketing up into the late 3rd, Mike Evans and Godwin maintaining value despite them being old and or injured. So I want to ask you, Rich, based on all your research that you've done all summer that you were talking about before the show, what is this year's version of the Jaguars? We'll start in the negative, I guess. What's this year's version of the Jaguars where the offense is just going to crater and it's going to ruin all of these players' dynasty value that are on it?
I think there's some symmetry here. I actually did a series on like team regression early in July, basically like per drive output, converting yardage into touchdown, red zone efficiency, all these things. And the one team that definitely stands out, that definitely outkicked their coverage the most, ties into the Jaguars themselves. I think it's the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers definitely are a team that have a bunch of red flags in terms of offensive efficiency. Just everything ran pure. They scored on over 50% of their possessions last year. It was 4th in the NFL. There's been 21 teams to score on 50% or more of their possessions. Only one of those teams, the 2021 Chiefs, scored at a higher rate the next season. Of those 21 other teams, those teams saw an average loss of 14 offensive touchdowns per team. And those get spread out, but over the course of the season, if you're saying we're pulling 14 touchdowns away from a roster, like that's still pretty significant. You talked about the coaching changes too. Like they lose Liam Coen. We don't know what Josh Grizzard's going to keep in place. Liam Coen was absolutely pivotal into what turned Baker Mayfield around, because it was all about the short passing game. Like Baker, when he still held the football, we saw like the old bugaboos that Baker had. When he held the ball longer than 2.5 seconds, his completion rate went from 78% down to 63%. Only 14 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. He also ran at the highest rate of his career. I think that's probably an outlier. Tristan Wirfs is going to be out. Mike Evans is 32. Godwin's not going to start the year. Jalen McMillan's not going to start the year. And then you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers layout. We know they get this real cushy at Atlanta week 1 game, but then at Houston, against the Jets, against the Eagles, at Seattle, San Francisco, at Detroit. Like it is a gauntlet after that opening game for them. So the Buccaneers are definitely a team that I've been like pretty shy on in terms of redraft. Dynasty, it's like tougher to tie that into and say like, all right, well, Mike Evans is going to drop or Chris Godwin's going to drop. But I would pump the brakes maybe on like, Emeka Egbuka absolutely smashing this year, because I think Baker's going to regress. And then, Bucky Irving, we've been down this road before. I'm in on Bucky Irving, but we have been down with this arc archetype of player before that get the day 3 running back that climbs up to like the second round and has this, ADP spike. Hopefully he goes the route of De'Von Achane, but there is a long history of dudes like in that bucket, like the Jeremy Langfords, the Thomas Rawls. Like, I hope we just don't have that kind of run out here for Bucky Irving.
I think that he is a pretty different level of player than a lot of those guys. And you look at, whether you prefer to do it through the film, through the analytics, whatever. I just think I think where we see like Langford to me is like almost the perfect example of a player who really had the touches like fall upon him. Like I'll never forget because I had him starting on that Monday night game. But Matt Forte goes down. Jeremy Langford was like a 5th round pick, whatever, out of Michigan State. And they're playing the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And Kadeem Carey gets the first drive when everybody is putting in Jeremy Langford. And everybody has a freak out. And then sure enough, Langford goes on to smash that game. And for a while without Matt Forte. And the next year, everybody decides, well, it's Jeremy Langford. Forte's gone. But I don't know that Langford actually did anything really other than like one 98-yard run against the Rams to impress anybody. And then all of a sudden, Jordan Howard, I think, was the one who came out of nowhere that year, right? And sort of killed Jeremy Langford. Other than just bragging about how much I know about Jeremy Langford, that experience, I think, is not the Bucky Irving experience where he, like Rashad White didn't get hurt. He wasn't this Hall of Fame level player that got injured. Bucky Irving came in and stole the role by playing really damn well over the course of a season. So I view him pretty fundamentally different, but I agree on your larger point. I'm very nervous about the Bucs overall. I've been taking Bucky slightly ahead of market in seasonal stuff. Similar, I feel, in Dynasty. Abuka has lost, I think, where I can draft him in seasonal leagues, but I was way ahead of market for most of the season. But he has kind of surpassed my ranking of him. But Baker, to me, in all formats, I mean, I brought up Baker, I think, before on the show. Just a really questionable ADP for a guy who, like, I don't think it ever crested 25 passing touchdowns before. And then he all of a sudden goes for, was it 40 last year or close to it, almost out of nowhere. So I think that he probably regresses. And maybe the answer is just, Chris Godwin fails because he doesn't play all year. And so everybody else still finds with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of going with for the passing game. I largely agree with Rich from a macro level with this offense. But it's kind of these last few weeks, it's becoming like, okay, all of these guys are getting hurt, and now it's going to be very consolidated for at least the start of the year, which makes it a little bit harder. But yeah, I mean, from a bird's eye view,
Buka's getting 100% week 1 in DraftKings. I think he's 4,600 on DraftKings. Like, he is getting smashed.
Oh God, yeah,
he's 4,600
against the Falcons. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so we're playing with one less player this week. Yeah. How many? Jerome Ford, Emeka Egbuka, log out.
Drake May, and Emeka Egbuka every lineup in week 1.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and I can't wait to do DFS content again. That's just gonna. I'm ready to go.
I'm getting a little triggered by talking about DFS right now. Usually, I try not to think about it until after Labor Day. But
poor Tom.
Man,
we already lost this being a Dynasty show last week to basically doing a redraft episode, and now we're doing DFS content. Tom's in control over the show.
I'm in hell.
Next week, it's going to be about week 1 player props.
Oh God.
But yeah, to bring it back to Bucky Irving and the Buccaneers, I am the most worried about the backfield, actually. And the reason for that is we saw this big shift in both the efficiency on the ground and the usage in the passing game once Liam Coen took over last year. I mean, he took this Buccaneers team from being dead last in the NFL in yards per carry in 2023 up to 3rd best, averaging over 5 yards per carry. Some of that is Bucky Irving, obviously, and the offensive line upgrades. But yeah,
Graham Barton might stand up.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, also Tristan Wirfs hurt, and Rashad White was also an efficient runner on the ground for the first time in his life last year. So it makes you kind of have to wonder, okay, how much of this environment was being created by Liam Coen, and also the screen game. That's the big thing with Coen is he had 3 players ranking top 12 in screen targets per game. That's kind of a cheating stat because one of them was Chris Godwin at the beginning of the year. And obviously White and Bucky kind of took that over with Godwin being injured. But yeah, everything we've heard from new OC Josh Grizzard is we want to be more vertical in the passing game. And that's like scary to me when, it's Baker holding the ball. Igbuka was not really a vertical player whatsoever when he was in college. Not that he doesn't have it in his skill set necessarily, but we haven't seen it. So yeah, if it's just Baker playing like drop back hero ball to Mike Evans, I get pretty worried.
I'll say the player not talked about probably enough at his cost is our boy Rachaad White. Actually, he's like a nice dynasty cost right now. I don't think he dies, man. And it's a long season. Like we're talking about a guy who's still at the end of last year when Bucky was going absolutely insane, was hovering around that 9-10 point range, still in whatever role he had. I don't think he's dead, and he's damn near free. So I'm not
Sean Tucker, buddy.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'm not a
well, you do draw life if Rachaad White's like a Chief next year, then you draw life because he's an unrestricted free agent.
I just like free. I like free running backs that might get to play and like.
You mean when he's a Chief in week 8? You know, after Sean Tucker becomes RB2, Chiefs really need a third down back. You know,
I think if the Rachaad White's a dynasty talk, you're talking about where he's going next year.
I think. The problem I have with Sean Tucker is that he just never, I don't know, that they don't seem to be as into him as dynasty players are as into him. So it's just one of those things. It's like, I can't do it with him. But again, they're both pretty much free. So grab them both.
He was a hot Devy dude for a long time, Sean Tucker.
Oh,
and then, he didn't have the heart to.
Yeah.
He would have been drafted a lot higher than where he was. And his NFL play has only reinforced what everyone thought about him.
Right. He looks good every time he gets a chance.
Yeah. DFS podcast, Sean Tucker, Millie Maker winner. That was when people were what was the conspiracy that week that they had the scores ahead of time before the game happened? That was like a conspiracy that week or something equally stupid because the winning Millie Maker lineup had Bucky and Sean Tucker in it, and people got really mad.
Over the last month, Sean Tucker is RB74. So, I mean, like you said, at this point, they're both free. Grab them both.
All right. No Sean Tucker Devi rants from Lucas, so we can move on to the next team.
I did that 2 weeks ago, so I got my fill in.
Toronto Dave already caught it. Lucas is beaming after hearing Devi.
Well, I'll ask you, Rich. I'll ask you the flip side of that coin. So, because they're not on our list of teams we're going to go deep into detail with today, but you're talking about the downside effects of losing Liam Coen. Are you as excited as I am about the team receiving Liam Coen?
Yeah, for fantasy football, I am. Their Jaguars popped on a lot of stuff I did too as like a positive regression team. I know it's everyone's favorite phrase, but they're because the defense is still really bad right now. The offensive line, I think, is an initial concern right now. The state of the offensive line. I mean, they've really struck out. Like Anton Harrison has been a big time miss for them. But I think they're gonna have so many dropbacks this year. Like the amount of dropbacks this team's gonna have it makes me really bullish on the opportunity because they're like. Ryan displayed all the stats. Like they're going to have so much like short passing for all the backfield in unison. Obviously, Travis Hunter is a guy that can win in that capacity and win after the catch. They're going to get Brian Thomas a lot more, horizontal stuff, a lot more of those slants near the line of scrimmage. Even when he's playing in the slot, I mean, he's still going to be on the line of scrimmage. So yeah, I'm definitely in on the Jaguars as well. And we might see them guys recoup a little bit of value, except for ETN. He's in that Rachaad White spectrum, right? Like we just want to know where he goes next. Where's the next spot?
Some have called it the Breece Hall spectrum these days, but we haven't got.
I mean, there's so many guys when you look at the running back landscape. Because like when I was writing up my running back like keeper targets, and I always look to see is like, well, who's got like dominoes falling? It's like, geez, there's so many free agents next year, and I just try to put them all on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
How many of these guys can I put on the Chiefs?
Nice.
Jalen Warren, you're a Chief. Yeah.
Can't wait for the Jalen Warren, Breece Hall, Rachaad White committee next year on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh no.
Well, yeah. So the Jaguars would have been my answer to the kind of the next part of this, which is who is the team that you think just rockets everybody up in dynasty value, a la the Buccaneers last year, if you have another one aside from the Jaguars, Rich?
I mean, there are a few teams that popped in a lot of my stuff like pretty consistently. One was the Cowboys, and that was just because of what happened to their offense last year, with Dak missing half the year. The Jaguars were consistent pops in mine. And then the other two were the Patriots and the Raiders. The Raiders, their top guys are already expensive, right? Like you're paying a premium for JT, you're paying a premium Bowers. The Patriots, though, like it's interesting because no matter where I go, everyone likes Drake Maye, right? But none of the other Patriots guys move. Like no one else on their team moves. Trevion's getting some really late steam now in terms of like the redraft circles. But like in terms of dynasty, like, well, one, there's an outcome where pretty easy. I think you can tell yourself Trevon's like a round 1 redraft pick next year. And then in dynasty, it's pretty easy to tell yourself where he kind of jumps to maybe a top 5 guy this year, like Bijan, Gibbs, JT, and then maybe him. He could easily jump guys like Achane and Breece Hall if he already hasn't for people. So, and then, Kyle Williams, we'll see what happens with him, how much opportunity.
I think he's already my RB5 in Dynasty. Just so
I figured people had him like right around there.
Me.
I could feel that take coming from Jacob. I knew that was the next thing he was going to say. It was that Trevion is at his RB5.
Yeah, and I think he's like right in that spot with a lot of people because then after JT, like you start to say like you get to like Achane, Breece Hall in terms of like the age spectrum. You're like, oh, he already might be there. But yeah, we'll see what happens at Kyle Williams. Diggs could have like at least hold on to some value for maybe 1 to 2 more years, especially like a full year removed. Like if he just is okay to good this year and then a full year removed from the ACL and he has like one more ride in the sun in him. I also think like Hunter Henry is like a viable, like useful dude to just have on your roster. Like, so like the Patriots are kind of the team from like just the ADP stance that stands out the most. Because don't forget, they're also part of this corollary too. Like there's a reason Josh McDaniels got to fail as a head coach multiple times. And it's because he can coach offense. Like I go back to that last full season he had at the Raiders. That was a top 5 offense that had no business being a top 5 scoring offense. That last year when he was like kind of thrust with the husk of Cam Newton, like what is he able to coax? What is he able to coax out of Cam Newton and like kind of coach around making like a viable team around that. So like, yeah, I kind of look at the Patriots and they're the kind of the standout team in that capacity.
Yeah, they've been tough to deal with in like, this is I guess more of a seasonal take, but I've been really in on Maye. I've been on a Henderson. I mean, he's getting like crazy expensive now, dude. But
you guys just took him 303.
Really well, and that was the first time I've ever voted against Henderson, and someone else has voted for Henderson over my objections. Like that was such an out of body experience. I mean, I have like 28% of him on Underdog, and then having to get 3v1 into a Trevion Henderson pick, not something I saw coming for this season. But yeah, it's crazy that he's going that high. Part of my expectation with the Patriots and why I've been less in on their weapons, I'm taking shots on Kyle Williams, although it's a bit of a shot in the dark. It's just, I think they're going to like rotate dudes. Is kind of my vibe. Like they're going to do some 2 tight end stuff with Hooper playing more than maybe we want him to play. I think that we'll see Diggs' routes being very consistent. I think we'll see Pop basically only playing 11 personnel, maybe even has to deal with Efton Chisholm. And then the other like outside wide receiver slot is like probably at least at the start of the year, a rotating amalgamation of Mac Hollins, Kayshon Boutte, and Kyle Williams. We'll see. And hopefully Kyle Williams is just good. And then by like week 6, it's just Kyle Williams. But that's been where I've been concerned of like, how do I stack Drake Maye when I take him, every single best ball draft.
Is there an outcome where Maye gets behind Mahomes in Dynasty this year? Like he's like QB 7.
Yeah, of course there is. Yeah, if he has an awesome season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an outcome where Maye is like QB5. That's awesome.
That's tough because you got what? Well, the
Mahomes is going to be like 29, dude. Make it easily get past Mahomes. Make it easily get past. If Mahomes has another season of being mid, and then like let's say Rice is like he plays like 6 games this year, and Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey's washed, and Mahomes does his best Gardner Minshew impression for like a 3rd year in a row, and he's going to be going into age 30 season, like. Which it doesn't have to be Maye, but like whichever of these young quarterbacks has a top 5 season, if that's Maye or it's Caleb or it's Nick's, like they would pass Mahomes, I think.
I think Drake Maye has probably got the best shot of being where Justin Herbert was when he got really steamed up, because I've always talked about how there's always like that new blood in that top 5 or 6 in quarterbacks that don't really ever seem to stick around. Like Burrow has held that down for a while now, but there's kind of just a rotation before, and Herbert was there.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence was kind of there. I think between Maye and Caleb, those two, I think, are first-round picks next year for sure. And you've got Bo Nix over the last month at Dynasty Data Lab sitting at QB 7, right? Like, it's the young quarterback movement's on the way. And if, all Caleb Williams has to do, in my opinion, is just not be as bad. And then all Drake Maye has to do is rush for like 600 yards and just GG's. He's in that top half of Dynasty startups. So I think you're bang on there.
Well, speaking of Caleb, I'm fascinated. Probably the team that most people, maybe other than the Jaguars, have been targeting to get way better on offense this year, the Bears. You didn't mention the Bears. I'm curious on your thoughts on the Ben Johnson impact on the Chicago Bears.
I'm excited, at least from what I saw, because from the under center stuff is what I was really looking for, to see how he was going to incorporate into Caleb's game, because Caleb was a guy that really didn't play under center a lot in college either. So he's not going to turn Caleb Williams into Jared Goff. Like, that's never going to be the plan. But if he can just get Caleb to just put him in a spot to just not put him in such harm's way for Caleb to do Caleb things, that because we the things that Caleb has as red flags are things that generally don't course correct over like an NFL career. It's things that could be mitigated though. Like Burrow has been like a terrible pressure to sack dude for his whole career, and he doesn't care. Like, he's openly talked about it, but like Burrow makes up ground in so many other capacities outside of just taking sacks. It's really only his red flag. Caleb didn't have the turnover problem last year. It was just that sacks are adjacent to turnovers, and then he took so many of them last year. I had the one stat on Roma Dunze where Roma Dunze ran 144 routes last year that didn't even have a target on them, just hollow routes, empty routes. He was just out there running around where either Caleb took a sack or he scrambled or threw the ball away. It was an absolute travesty. Any per route metrics, the Bears last year, just throw them all out the window. Just throw them all out the window. It doesn't matter. Because it was just a war crime what happened with that offense and how Caleb played last year. So I was excited to see at least Caleb playing a lot more under center in the opening preseason game. I want to see how sticky that is. The Bears do, I think, have a lot of moving parts. I think there's gonna be some times where it takes some time for this to come together because there's so many pieces, right? They're probably going to be a compartmentalized backfield to a degree. How much two tight end stuff do they play? Ben Johnson brings that over. They played a lot of two tight end stuff with Detroit. How much does Cole Kmet get on the field? And if that happens, how much does Luther Burden get on the field? There's just a lot of kind of moving parts early in the season. I think the Bears will be a ramp up team. I definitely don't think they're going to score 30 like they did on the Bills backups last week. Their opening schedule is pretty tough too. So I do think it'll take some time to gel. They have an early bye too, week 5 bye. So I think early in the season, especially if you're in these 1 QB leagues, I think there's still going to be some sketchy parts where you're ooh, I don't really feel good about Caleb this opening month. I think he has one game against the Raiders where you might feel good about him, but he opens with Minnesota, Detroit, and then maybe Dallas you feel good about, but then early bye. So I do think it's going to be a ramp up for the Bears though.
Yeah, I mean, to your point on the under center stuff, Caleb was literally one of the worst pressure to sack QBs of all time last year when he was out of the shotgun. He was still not good under center, but it was more pretty bad as opposed to worst of all time rates. So that is somewhat encouraging. I'm kind of with you in that with the Bears, I'm mostly targeting the Luther Burdens, the Coulson Lovelands, the guys that are, if the vision comes together by the end of the season, who do I think is going to benefit the most, just based on who they have spent a lot of draft capital on in this regime. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what Jacob thinks.
Oh man, I just asked it because I wanted to hear what Rich thought. I don't know what to think about the Bears this year. My approach has just been that I don't really know. I think as a collective unit, they're very, very pricey for a team that was abominable last year, but no individual piece is that pricey. So it's a very fascinating environment where you have 6 players going in the top 120 right now on Underdog, but no players going in the top 40, which is just a really weird kind of stat. And I think generally speaking, I'm just most inclined to bet on the players who were least responsible for them being awful last year. And so I'm most interested in Loveland. I'm very interested in Burden as an upside bet, although I think his floor is pretty terrible. And I'm giving Rome Odunze like a 50% pass since he was a rookie last year. I'm still pretty, no pun intended, bearish on DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift, but I acknowledge the upside.
I mean, my boomer take is that Burden earned himself some snaps with that blocking on the goal line, doing what Tank
man. He was moving across the slapsticks with that one. He was getting a little bit more, Yeah.
That's and don't forget Zacchaeus has earned himself.
That's true. Zacchaeus is locked into a role.
Locked in.
A lot.
The interesting part about
sounds like Olabisi, Olabisi, Zacchaeus, Olamide Johnson, like the same.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what he does with Burden because, Burden was a guy I think that was miscast, obviously, at Mizzou due to the quarterback limitations they had. He's really not like that great of a slot receiver. Like he's actually very good at like getting vertical and downfield. And like I know Matt Harmon's work reinforced this when I watched Burden, and I'm not a scout by any means, but like he is like a terrible feel for like finding like soft spots in coverage. He's not that good of like an actual like interior route runner, like with any nuance. He's good at when you have the football in his hands, he can force missed tackles. But I thought his vertical game was actually like a real highlight. It's just they had no one at Mizzou to get him the ball downfield. So I'm real curious to see if like we might have it wrong and he's just not like pigeonholed into just being like this slot archetype asset. Maybe there's like a rotation where Ben Johnson's kind of utilizing all of these guys inside and out. And then you also have Lovell in there too.
4 slot snaps that preseason game.
Yeah,
he did, right? Yeah, which was really interesting.
And Ben Johnson's a big guy. He was real big on Detroit of unlocking like all the horizontal route stuff for Jamison Williams, right? Like Jamison Williams is thought of just a speed vertical guy. But how many passes where did Jamison Williams where he was just running mesh or running like a dig and no one can catch him across the field because you have to guard him for 50 yards sideways too. He had so many plays like that, Jamison Williams last year.
I've talked about that a lot with Brett Whitefield, our resident Detroit Lions, everything. And it seemed like like you said, every big play was just that deep in. But it was just like every single time because it was impossible. So you're right. If that's the role, I mean, wide receiver 40, Luther Burden, that's not very expensive if you want to take your shot. Not at all. That being said, we got our first break. When we come back from this part of the break, we're digging into some of the more intriguing offenses that we might not have totally tapped into just yet. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
This is Nick B, and I'm reading this ad because I was my fantasy league's biggest loser. So if you want to win your fantasy league and make more money, head to fantasypoints.com to get the edge you need.
That's right. Everything you need at fantasypoints.com. Literally everything from college football to dynasty, redraft, and soon, oh God, DFS. So we got everything for you. If you want into the Discord, if you are subscribed, you're not in there yet, you're missing out on a ton of opportunities to cash in with our guy Darren, who puts out just insane amount of preseason DFS content in the Discord for you. Absolute animals in there. No place for me. It's not a safe space for these innocent eyes with this preseason DFS. But Ryan, let's dig into some more intriguing offenses. What do you have lined up since you wrote the show sheet?
That's it. He got it right twice in a row. You're knocking it out of the park tonight, Tom.
I'm actually doing my job tonight, baby. Let's go. I'm locked in.
You're locked in.
You're locked in, and you're on more than like 3 hours of sleep compared to last show, which I'm assuming is helping. But
no drive back from Canton this week. No way.
But yeah, basically there are 3 other offenses that I really want to talk to you about, Rich. And it's because mostly I don't know what to think. I'm cautiously optimistic on all 3 of these, I'd say, but I really just want to pick your brain even more. So let's start with the Chargers, I guess. So it's really weird to me because specifically just bringing it down to the players, Omarion Hampton, Ladd McConkey, I think they're really, really good. Mm-hmm. I think it's also very hard to project how efficient this team is going to be, how much they're going to throw the ball. I just want to know what your like overall thoughts are here and whether you're in or out on these skill players.
I mean, from a dynasty stance, it's easy to be in on the top two guys, right? Like, Ladd, and I'll definitely take some shit for this, but like there are three receivers, like young receivers, I think like from an apex outcome, like have like the Antonio Brown, maybe it's pie in the sky outcome, right? Malik Neighbors is an obvious one. I think Ladd is two, and then
I know what you're gonna say, don't I?
I know my third guy's Josh Downs.
Are you gonna say Josh Downs?
Yeah, third guy's Josh Downs. But, so I mean, the Ladd's projection for this year like really didn't change a lot for me that with the signing of Keenan Allen, because he wins so regularly outside, and he did at Georgia, and he did his first year in the NFL when he was tasked to play outside last year as well. So I have like no qualms if like he gets to just play more outside and gets more access to maybe some more vertical targets, because like we just didn't get a lot of those last year. We would love for them to get some more targets, in the red zone. Jim, if we could, Jim and Greg, like can we dial some stuff up, in the red zone? I mean, this is a guy that had fewer red zone targets than Quentin Johnston last year. Like, just absolutely, like, how does this happen? Like, how do we he was 8th in actually red zone points scored over expectations, but he was 44th in expected red zone points last year. He said he had 9 targets in the red zone. That was it. Like, we got to do better. We can't have him become Zay Flowers. Like, he can't be like Los Angeles Zay Flowers. So dial up some stuff for him. But I have been a little bit from like the 2025 mark, a little bit lower on the Chargers. What's funny now is actually I'm getting more Ladd now, because like he's now going to where like I had him, and the Rashawn Slater injury I think does push some more kind of volume opportunities to him. I think people had the wrong read of the Chargers last year, because everyone was like citing all these stats, like the Chargers had this pass rate over expectation the final 8 weeks of the season, but like didn't put any context of why that all happened. Like the run game absolutely caved in on itself. The back half of the last year, they were in the bottom 4th of like almost every rushing efficiency metric. The offensive line wasn't playing good in the run blocking game. They just finally settled in and they said, hey, our best player, Justin Herbert, let's have him try to win us games. Then they get to the playoffs. They lose a game where Justin Herbert throws 4 interceptions, and their backfield runs 18 times for 50 yards, under 3 yards per carry. You telling me that Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, like after that game, like sat and looked at each other in the eyes, and like, yeah, this is kind of football we want to play, right? Like there's no way. And that's why they went out in free agency. They threw the bag at Mackay Becton. They did add Najee or whatever, like, whatever you think about the contract. And they used a 1st-round pick on Omarion Hampton. Like there was a pretty significant signal. Like there's still like the Harbaugh and Roman still want to do Harbaugh Roman things. This Rashawn Slater injury does though throw a unique wrinkle into this, because they can move Joe Alt to left tackle like they did last year when Joe Alt played he played left tackle in week 18, but they just weren't a very good offense, when Rashawn Slater was off the field last year. And it was a limited sample. It was only 159 plays, but yards per play, they would have been 27th. They would have been 29th in success rate, 32nd in yards per carry with running back runs, 32nd in explosive play rate, and 24th in rate of plays of 20 or more yards. Like it's a significant loss. Like these left tackles, we've seen the splits without Trent Williams. We had Lane Johnson miss some time last year, not a left tackle, right tackle. We saw Mulata miss time. Like these tackles, like these guys matter to offenses, especially in like this current meta of where offenses are playing more condensed, heavier formations. And like you want to play with offensive leverage so these teams can't play all the shell coverage. Like these guys matter. So it is a significant loss. I think it'll push some targets to Ladd. And then on top of it all, the Chargers have by far our worst ranked schedule for offense and rushing this year. So I was a little bit below market on those guys, but I'm actually getting a lot more Ladd now that he consistently hits like the 2-3 turn.
I'm fascinated because I think that there's like, you look at the Chargers 2024 season and the splits, right? And for anyone who's didn't catch it from Rich, undeniably they were extremely run heavy for like the first 5 to 6 weeks, and then they become, their overall totals don't look as pass heavy as they actually were because they won a lot of games, but they become a plus PRE team, or at least a neutral PRE team for the rest of the season. And Rich's read is totally a plausible one, which is that Dobbins gets hurt. He wasn't actually that good anyways. And they decided to tilt into what they had. I just have the opposite read that I think is equally as plausible, which is those first 6 weeks when they were running like crazy, they had Justin Herbert with plantar fasciitis, and then he sprains his ankle in week 2, I believe it was, or week 3, the game against the Panthers, the Steelers, then he re-injured it. And so they had this super hobbled Justin Herbert. their wide receiver room at that time was, whatever Josh Palmer is, the attempt to rehabilitation project, Quentin Johnston, and they had no idea what Ladd McConkey was in the first couple weeks of the season yet. So I look at it and I'm like, this was a team that had to be kind of run heavy because they had a quarterback who couldn't move and couldn't plant, and they didn't know who their wide receivers were. I buy the end of the season Chargers a lot more than I buy the early season Chargers in terms of coming into this year. I'm team quarterback owns his pass rate over coach owns his pass rate. I'm projecting the Chargers to be, certainly not leading the league in pass attempts or anything crazy, but I view them as like a normal offense. I think they're more likely to be between like 12 and 20 in pass rate over expectation than to be a bottom 8 pass rate over expectation team, like maybe you do.
See, I'm also team they're going to run the ball because, again, I think if someone has seen enough of Greg Roman in his lifetime to last a lifetime,
that's a Lamar Jackson offense. I just think that's so different than a Justin Herbert offense.
Well, hear me out. The only thing that I would combat that with is they just, like Rich mentioned, they doubled down and they went 2x Harbaugh and Roman with Hampton. I think the thing that's going to help is
and drafted a wide receiver round 2 and round 5.
I get it. I get it.
And immediately iced him.
Yeah. But
and signed Keenan Allen. I mean, they've added a lot of pass catchers.
I think Najee Harris becoming Cyclops is going to help your path to the Chargers offense, and I'm more inclined to believe it that they don't want to maybe go in there with a rookie RB1 and hand it to him 28 times a game. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is the same guy that designed Patrick Ricard on 9 routes to end games previously. So I never know what to expect, but I'm more inclined to agree with you for like the first 8 weeks. And then I want to see what happens when Najee is back. But I've moved away from like the hardcore. They're just going to run the ball. I've now can officially say I'm living in the middle, right where Jacob said, right around 15, right? 15 to 12. I'm now hovering on the middle line. I'm playing both.
If they're just middle, it's going to be a positive outcome for Ladd, though.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is like, I agree with Tom in that I think Najee kind of very weirdly is more important to this equation than maybe anyone gives it credit for. And the reason for that is if you think back to the quote that Greg Roman had like a week ago that people were kind of freaking out about, where he was asked basically, what's the plan at running back if Najee misses week 1? Like, is Hampton just going to be the bell cow? And he says something to the effect of like, oh, well, like we don't really do one guy getting all the touches anymore. There will be someone else in there. The important part to me was he didn't know who, or he could not name a running back that it would be that would be in there. So you can interpret that 2 ways. That either like rocket ship emoji for Hampton, which yes, obviously.
What about rocket? Think of the irony. Think of the irony of Najee Harris firework incident propelling a guy named Rocket. Like this is like there are some great storytellers in the world.
Hey, you want to talk about former Debbie darlings, man? Raheem Rocket Sanders was a major Debbie darling back in the day. I do, man. People like the anti-Hampton people that were celebrating that coach that is like the most like banal boilerplate of coach speak, where it's like, how often do you ever expect a coach, especially with a rookie, right? Like we're not talking about Saquon Barkley. If they ask Nick Sirianni, what do you plan to do with Saquon Barkley this year? Like no coach is ever going to his running back room and being like, it's all on Hampton because these other guys stink. Like that's just not what they ever say. They always are going to be like, we're excited about our RB3 this year. We're gonna find touches for him. It's like, no, you won't. But like, I know you're gonna say that.
Yeah. So I stand corrected. There are 3 ways you can interpret this. It's either pro Hampton, pro Rocket, or it can be kind of pro what Vidal. It was last year, where a lot of the season they're without either Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins. Not that either guy was lighting it up anyway, even when they were on the field, but that makes it so Roman can't do his 2-back system. We're going to run the ball 30 times a game type of thing, and they have to throw more. How long that lasts, how long Najee's out, nobody knows. It was, we've been around the block with that one over the last month. But yeah, I mean, at least to open the season, to me, I'm with Tom. I don't think they're trying to just give Hampton 25 carries. I think the other running backs on their roster will more than likely prove unworthy of that. They may try it, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think that's kind of like the out to the Chargers passing game here.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to throw early in the season too, just based on like, I said, their opponents, right? Like it's not like strength of schedule is everything, but like when you look at these teams that they play, like they're not going to line up and run all over the Chiefs, right? They're not going to line up and run all over the Broncos. I would argue in week 4, they're not going to line up and run all over the Giants, who like probably have one of the best front sevens in the NFL right now, like entering the year, which seems wild to like think about where we are with the Giants. Like they're going to have to throw against those teams.
So saying that, then who's the second pass catcher to really target? Like what role should we be looking for? Because they have a lot of, high upside type weapons that we look at from a dynasty perspective. So which one should we be hedging our bets on?
For dynasty purposes?
Yeah, I mean, redraft too, because whoever produces the most this season is who's going to end up being the highest value.
Unless it's Keenan Allen.
Unless it's Keenan Allen, yeah.
I mean, but Keenan's going to play snaps, though.
Yeah,
he sure
I
is.
honestly think is likely.
But they're trying him at X receiver apparently, which is hilarious and is not.
They're trying Keenan at X.
That's what they're trying.
Oh, I missed this. Okay, that's fine.
He's been lining up at X receiver in practice. I mean, they're going to move him around, but apparently that was like
I mean, with the Bears, he played a little bit more 50-50 than he had, earlier in his career. So he did get some opportunities out there last year.
Man.
I mean, I would definitely bet on the other two guys, though. I mean, early in the season, I just don't think they're going to thrust a lot on Lambert Smith and Trey Harris. We'll see if we'll have to follow like this concussion news with Quentin Johnston. Took that real nasty hit the other night. See if I assume he'll be back by week 1, but I don't think like he's just going to get ghosted either.
I'm real sketched on Trey, man. I thought I liked him as a prospect, but not like. And if you read my write-up on him, he's ranked highly, but it's one where I would encourage anyone to read the actual, like what I wrote, which is very much like, it was less about, I have a lot of conviction in this bet and more about like, I like taking high risk, high reward bets is basically the idea. And I think that he had a really wide range of outcomes. He was a player that I was kind of going into the preseason training camp, wanting to be reactive to what I was hearing because I felt like he had a very wide range. The fact that he is like seemingly passed by KLS at this current moment in terms of who goes into the game for Quentin Johnston. The fact that I thought he profiled as an X receiver, but they're apparently trying to play him as Z receiver, which I don't think fits what he does well. And the fact that he ran, the first 2 preseason games, he had 2 targets, 0 catches on 25 routes. He got more involved last week, but I still think he looks stiff as hell out there. I'm aborting mission on Trey Harris. I have him ranked at like 198 in my best ball ranks right now, and I would rather take KLS straight up.
You guys haven't even mentioned who the actual number 2 target on this offense is going to be. And if you know me, you know what I'm going to say.
I know it's coming. I was going to say it if you weren't.
It's absolutely Tyler Conklin. You just wait. Conk Daddy is once again going to set the world on fire.
Get ready to learn a Rondé Gadsden, buddy.
I'll say it a year or two, but I'm once again going to be fighting Jacob Sanderson when we make it back to the finals in the Scott Barrett, Danny Kelly Invitational, saying, please, we have to start Conklin this week in the Superflex because all of our quarterbacks died again. It'll be me again next year, but don't you heard it here. Tyler Conklin, Conk Daddy's back.
Like,
yeah,
I don't
maybe
know
CeeDee Lamb will actually play in the final for me that next time, and we'll see how that goes.
We can debate these receivers till the cows come home, but their best personnel group is 13 personnel with Ladd, Conk, Disley, and Gadsden.
Not wrong.
I love this. Yeah, no,
Greg Roman. If Greg Roman heard me say that, he would be nodding aggressively.
Yes,
absolutely.
That was going to be my cop out answer. Is yeah, but especially before the Keenan signing, I was kind of in on. Well, I don't know whether it's going to be Conklin or Gadsden this year or whatever, but every Greg Roman team we've seen has just fed the ball to a tight end on play action. It's like kind of his favorite thing to do. We saw Mark Andrews play action stuff drop off a lot once Roman left Baltimore. We got like some random tight end weeks out of Will Dissly and some random tight end one target volume out of Stone Smart at times last season when they were having to throw. So yeah, I do think the answer could actually be the tight end room. But yeah, I also don't know for this year which one of them it is.
We do. Before we move on to the next team. That's how deep my analysis goes on the tight end room. It's Conk Daddy or nothing. Before we move on to the next team, let's take another quick break. We come back. We have another team that we have not dove nearly enough into coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
45 seconds? Nah, that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
Ryan, second team you wanted to discuss today. Let's dive in.
All right. Before we go to the next team, I just gotta call out the bullying in the chat right now. I in a certain way. It's how I was born saying it. We don't have to rub it in. Yeah, you know.
And I just want to tell the chat, we're going to try our best to get to a rapid fire Q&A between this and 5 for 5. If you want JCM talk, that goes in the Q&A. So ask your JCM or BCM related questions for the Q&A.
We gotta remember. I did a show with Jacob one time, and we did like a bunch of stats, and my CD Lamb analysis, like said, was like, well, I know he's a good decision maker because he took the phone away from that girl at draft night. I got a question, Jacory here, like, buddy, if your nickname stemmed from Bill Cosby, we got to drop this, bro. Like we've got to drop this, dude. You've got to let that one go. You got to let it go, man.
And another show I did with Rich was we just went through basically which wide receivers were good picks based on their actual given names, based on the initialized names. That was when I learned, that it was Sedarian, that it was DeKalen, that it was Arthur Juan. I'm sorry, but like Jacory's way cooler than Bill.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right. 100%. So like that's definitely bearish if we go down.
Yeah. I tweeted about him today and I only called him Bill because I was giving like a slightly measured take on him. If I wanted to hype him up, I would have called him Jacory. That's just how you got to set the vibe there. But getting into the next offense we want to talk about, it's the Texans, Rich. So just like bring me through your overall macro take on the Texans, because I feel like listening to your content specifically on the Texans has like moved me some. So I just want to share it with everybody else here.
Yeah, I mean,
specifically your take on Dominique Stephon Collins.
Yeah, I mean it's very good. Top five redraft pick. Should be very high in the dynasty ranks as well. But yeah, I mean the Texans. I just really wish their defense was worse, and they were in a different division. But man, this team is kind of really built to throw the football effectively this year. I think when you look at first of all, when you talk about the state of this offensive line. And it could be mitigated with a short passing game like Nick Caley can create. We'll see what he brings over because we haven't really seen him call plays. So I'm really curious to see like what he brings over. Because there's already rumors like he's going to run like a lot more man gap run stuff, which could be good for Dameon Pierce. I don't think it really matters. The way I've been playing the Texans is like, no, I'm not really chasing a lot of the backfield guys, and they're cheap enough if you want to nibble on these guys, whatever. But I really just think this passing game is the way you want to attack this team because you look at the way they're built, like it's Jaden Higgins, outside with Nico Collins moving around. Nico Collins is going to move around, I think, more than he has early in his career. You've got Christian Kirk, who is more slot dependent than like a splits, like show that he's slot dependent, but like he's a vertical slot. Like he's a guy that doesn't get like he's had over a 9 ADOT every year of his career. Like he gets shot plays from the slot, which we love. He's not just like a puddle jumper, like running 6-yard hooks and like doing stuff like that. Those three receivers, you mix in Jalen Noel, you've got a viable tight end in Dalton Schultz. Like this is the strength of this team. You've got a guy that can play point guard in CJ Stroud. I just don't think this offensive line is good enough to where any of these running backs are really going to maximize anything, right? And you can even argue the offensive line is even worse than last year because Larry Tunsil and Shaq Mason are gone. They're literally just like King Moonracer built this offensive line. These guys have come from all over the place. Like these dudes are cast off. Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram are like potentially slated to be their starting guards. These guys have washed out multiple places. It doesn't look like Cam Robinson's going to win that left tackle job, which means they're starting a second round rookie at left tackle. They could be also like, I just don't think that any of these running backs, like this version of Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce, what do we have? What don't we have? And Woody Marks as runners are going to you're not going to get what you got like for spurts out of Joe Mixon last year behind what you say, like when people are like, oh, the Texans offensive line was bad last year. And look what Mixon did. Like Mixon was also a very volatile runner too. Like he exploited a lot of matchup based stuff. And then when they faced teams that could even defend the run with Tunsil and Mason, they couldn't. So I really think that they're built to throw the football. Now the question is, how many game scripts do we get, right? Where like they get pushed and things like that. They're another team like they have a pretty favorable like opening month of the year. They could just be moving downhill and we could be giving all these vagabond running backs just touches for no reason, just because the game dictates it. I really think that they're built to throw the football. This team is absolutely built to throw the football.
They got a fun start though. I mean, their first 3 weeks at Rams, home to Bucs, and at Jaguars. All 3 of those games I think have like some shootout appeal.
Yeah. I Stroud is probably one of those guys that we moved him up too far in Dynasty, I think, year one. And a lot of us knew like what had happened, in year one. Like that wasn't anything you want to invest in from an archetypal stance. But he probably fell too far, though, in year 2. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, to me, it's weird for me with Stroud just because I think we do this thing in Dynasty where once a guy has like disappointed people, he like has an ADP ceiling like that he can never kind of break past again. It's like I'm struggling.
It's almost exactly what Herbert, right? Like Herbert, and he had 2 good years before it fell off. But Herbert played a season where his whole offensive line died. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen got hurt, and then he just dropped off. He was like basically like QB5, and then just dropped again.
Yeah, but I think it's similar with him where even if Herbert has like the amazingly efficient season that we've all been dreaming of and that we know he's capable of, like how far can he actually move up from like being a 2-3 turn dynasty pick? Like I just feel the same way about CJ Stroud where, yeah, like both of these guys could have really good seasons, but I just like, it's kind of like a weird personal thing. I just like hate both of them as dynasty investments, like for that reason. But yeah, my only take on the Texans is that all last season, this is another like DFS induced take, is I feel like we were constantly during the games complaining, why is Bobby Slovic running the ball on 2nd and long every single time into the middle, like completely stuffed for 1 yard or 0 yards. The stats are like really weird where the Texans by pass rate were a generally pass heavy team last year in most situations until you look at 2nd and long where they are like a top 6 team in run rate. It was just like really kind of weird. It just felt like so many just like broken chances or thrown away drives like that. So just like as long as that doesn't happen, I am also pretty into this passing game. I think I've kind of been overlooking not that I would ever overlook Nico Collins. I feel like I've kind of been overlooking the secondary options in this passing game for a lot of the offseason. But yeah, I'm pretty in on this. I think Nick Caley,
Christian Kirk, real good glue guy. Like you're never like excited, but he's like one of these guys that always like when you have like you just need a receiver to like plug in.
Yeah, no, I love it. And my only other thing was Nick Caley. When he got like his expanded role on the Rams, they went from near the bottom of the NFL in play action to near the top of the NFL in play action, which is also kind of intriguing to me. There haven't really been any rumors specifically or quotes from him about putting more of that into the offense, but I mean, that's always fun. Play action has been a cheat code forever, efficiency wise. So yeah, I'm pretty into the Texans and only get more into them the more I hear Rich talk.
I don't know if this is duplicative because I was having like internet issues and then came back in. So I hope I'm not stealing what was already said. But two other things I'll mention with Nick Caley. One, which I don't think matters anymore because they have the worst running back room ever until they sign Brian Robinson, in which case they'll have like the third worst running back room in the NFL. Is that Nick Caley also was with the Rams as they oversaw a change from like a very exclusively zone-based scheme to become more of a gap-based run scheme. And then I think tied in with that is he comes from the Patriots for a while. So he's like kind of this hybrid of he's been in the McVay world, but he's also come from this Erhardt Perkins scheme, which gives quarterbacks a lot more to do at the line of scrimmage and a lot more agency. I thought one of their issues last year with PFF Bobby was he was running like a paint by numbers Shanahan offense. And it's an L for the analytics community. But it felt like he, it felt like he had been like studying with the best people. And he had the book of all of his notes that he wrote down. And then he like did that in year one and it worked. And then people adjusted and he like couldn't find the answers in his notes, but he didn't actually have any of his own answers. I think Nick Caley's offense hopefully will be more reactive. They might teach offensive linemen how to block stunts this year, which would be a big improvement for them. And I think that Stroud is like, frankly, too good to be sort of put in this very rigid system where he doesn't have a lot of agency, a lot of ability to read things pre-snap or post-snap, frankly. And I think that could be an improvement for them. So pumped to hear you be that in on Nico Collins. I made Nico Collins the cover man of my home league redraft rankings post this week. I have him way ahead of consensus, currently ranked as my 108 in home leagues. I have him as my 106 on Underdog Best Ball Mania.
Yeah, I was very pro Kirk until then they just went and absolutely destroyed him with multiple draft picks. So now I'm sad. I'm sad boy that one of my favorites is dead to me now. So I'll probably have some sort of eulogy for him on the market report sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
But I mean, for 2025 purposes, I would almost bottom dollar bet he's second on the team in routes and targets.
You think so? I think Higgins is so good.
Because Kirk can play outside. The thing is, Kirk, he can play outside. So if they play two wide receiver stuff, like Kirk could early in the season be that dude. Like it might not be
early
Higgins
in the season for sure.
Yeah, it won't be Higgins' job out of the box. I don't think. Like Higgins is gonna have to earn it. And then
and they've been having him do that in preseason. Yeah,
they're doing like Xavier Hutchinson over Higgins like for the moment. That's not going to last very long, I don't think. But like, D'Amico Ryans is a massive boomer, so he's going to do boomer things.
Amazing that you're so high on Nico Collins in your home league rankings and yet don't have him in the home league, Jacob. I feel like the people need answers for that.
It's hard.
I have Nico Collins wide receiver 3. So
wow. Yeah. I thought I was high at wide receiver 4, but not high enough.
Okay.
Yeah. They're all good. Those are all good players this year. Listen, God bless us for not having to take, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson at the 1-2 turn this year. Like, thank goodness there's good players.
Is it Nico over Jefferson? Is that the ranking?
I do because yeah. And I had that before the hamstring, so
wow.
Obviously the quarterback changes, some of the changes. I'm super high on Jefferson still. Don't get me wrong. It's like we're splitting hairs amongst great players.
Since you bring it up, Rich, are you of the mind that the Vikings are going to be a little bit more run heavy than we've seen over the last few years?
Oh yeah, their signals. Now they will trade some game script for that, though. To be fair, like they led a ton of games last year. I think they were second in the NFL in rate of snaps led in the second half of games. So they will trade some of that game script. But yeah, I think a lot of their signal was to insulate JJ McCarthy in his first year as a starter. Obviously they grabbed the 2 linemen. They re-signed Josh Oliver. They re-signed Aaron Jones. They trade for Jordan Mason and give him a new contract. I think there's a lot of signal that they want to be more balanced, run the football better. Remember, Aaron Jones broke down the back half last year too. Like this is a guy it was the most touches he had in his career right before age 30. Like they don't want that. They didn't want to run that back again either because their depth was so bad at running backs. That's part of the Mason trade off. And I think it could be a very similar season for like JJ McCarthy for like the first year. This is an apex outcome probably, but like what we saw for like Brock Purdy, right? Like an efficiency base, like a lot of he might not have a lot of dropbacks, but he has a high YPA, stuff like that. Like very good efficiency metrics.
Yeah, I feel like this football has been like yanked away from me because I was just telling Jacob Gibbs this before the show that I want to like be on the Vikings will throw less because that's like what they seem to be signaling take, but I've had the exact same take last year and it totally blew up in my face. I don't know if Sam Darnold just like broke my brain, but they were saying like all these amazing things about Ty Chandler and being like the compliment that they were going to have like a robust running game, and like I don't know, they actually had a good defense last year, and that it totally could have been the way they went with Sam Darnold. But to me, it's just very like if you weren't going to do that last year, why would you do it this year when you have I mean a quarterback that we feel better about talent wise?
I think
but
the theory of the case is that they have the personnel to do it this year that they didn't last year. Their interior, their O-line is way better, and they have 2 running backs this year. And I also think they care more about JJ McCarthy, right? So I think that they're less likely, like if Sam Darnold blew up in their face last year, I don't think that they would have really been that upset about it, right? But like I don't think that they want McCarthy to be taking baptism by fire. I think that they care more about insulating him than like their 1-year $4 million flyer that they took on Sam Darnold. So that would be the case. I'm like in between. I think that they want to. I also think Kevin O'Connell is just like has been a plus PRV guy his whole life. And I do wonder how much like sometimes there's who we want to be and there's who we are. And like sometimes you get like 2 weeks into a season and you might have wanted to be one thing, but then you just are who you are. So I'm middling it a little bit. I guess the only guy that it really affects my ranking on is probably like I'm lower on like Hawkinson. But I don't know. I have a hard time like just not being at market on Justin Jefferson because he's Justin Jefferson.
And yeah,
so
I'm like a tick below for a redraft. That is, and
Yeah.
obviously in Dynasty, he's right there with Chase in Dynasty. But
yeah.
Like I said, just we have like we're really blessed this year at wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
It feels great, but I've been below the market on Hawkinson and Addison. That's the way I've been playing. It's like, listen, Justin Jefferson's gonna get his. Like he's gonna get his.
Mm-hmm.
And Addison seems unguardable. Like he just looks.
I just think Addison's better than everybody else thinks he is. Which is
I've been above on Addison. That's our difference, I guess.
Yeah.
I think he's just a really underrated player by like the market as a whole from a talent perspective, and that kind of cancels out what I think about the offense from a.
There's 2 quarterbacks that have gotten hyped in my like life as a non-scout that when I watched him and I was like, you guys like this quarterback? All I saw was that receiver, and Kenny Pickett was recently the one.
Yeah.
Every Kenny Pickett play that like was like awesome. I was like, wow, that was a pretty good Jordan Addison play. Like, then Manziel was the other one that like, you know, back in the day when Manziel's running around, like running in circles, and then he just hucks the ball to Mike Evans, and Mike Evans jumped over 4 dudes. And they're like, did you see what Manziel did? I'm like, I saw that 6'3" receiver just jump over everybody. Like, that's what I saw. Like, oh, you guys are watching.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with you. I think we're pretty much all in agreement. Like, I'm right there with Justin Jefferson, pretty much at cost. Above on Addison, below on Hawkinson. I'm with Brian in the chat who says Kraft over Hawkinson. I'm right there with you.
The right answer is Ty Felton. I think that's what we're really missing here. That's the most fun answer.
Look, you've been staying silent this whole episode. You decided to use your speaking time on Ty Felton.
Ty Felton of all.
Just because it'd be so fun.
Make a good point instead.
It's going to be.
Stephon Diggs.
Let's just say Addison's missing time. Somebody has to catch passes, and I guess Justin Jefferson technically can catch all of them, but
Naylor broke his hand, right? So Ty Felton might be wide receiver 2 week 1.
You've heard it here first.
Is he 3K on DraftKings?
He's got to be. I don't know if he's in the player pool.
Here first, Lucas Gilbert, Ty Felton outscoring Justin Jefferson.
Schedule.
Oh my
Vikings
God.
Bears, if you want to do it. Ty Felton.
Holy cow! I can't say a single thing about any.
You chose Ty Felton.
I had to talk about somebody at some point in time. Goodness, Ty Felton's at least fun. All right, don't hate me for wanting to have fun, Boomer.
Well, good. Fair. I deserve the Boomer name on this card. Last break, when we come back, we got one more team to talk about, guys. Don't go anywhere. You are not going to want to miss it.
45 seconds? Nah, that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
All right. Jacobs, I guess, took off to get a beverage. So with that, Ryan, one more.
Yeah,
Nine.
we're building the week 1 DFS lineup on the show. We're just doing it piece by piece.
Hey, that's actually where I went.
Brick.
I went over. It was a really long break. I went to the fridge. I got a beer, and I made a DraftKings lineup.
Oh my goodness. One more team, and I don't think anyone's going to be surprised when Ryan reveals the last team that he wants to talk about. Real shocker, but Ryan, let's have at it.
Yeah, so this is the offense that I think has broken the most people's brains in the industry over the past 2 years. It's definitely broken mine and Jacob's brains just from arguing with people about it. So I'll set it up as the Dolphins in 2023 had the most deep passing yards per game in the NFL, over 70 deep passing yards per game. They went to the fewest in 2024, 21 deep passing yards per game. Where are they going to be in 2025, Rich? What does it mean for all of our fantasy players that we care about?
I wish I knew, but I'll tell you what, there's going to be no middle ground here. This thing is either going to be absolutely beautiful or we're going to see like this thing absolutely self-destruct. I don't think there's like really going to be any meandering like where we don't get an answer. And it's crazy because you like Mike McDaniel look like he's already he almost has a foot out the door. It feels like this dude's already here dropping morbid quotes, and we don't know what's happening with him. He actually like I've never seen a person go to a city and just like manifest into that city more than Mike McDaniel. Like this dude was like an outright nerd, and now he's like a character from Vice City. Like I don't even know like what's happening. But. We've talked about it a lot, Ryan, like on Twitter and stuff. And Mike McDaniel's acknowledged this. Like what happened to them last year is very simple, right? They end up facing the highest rated 2 high safeties because they couldn't push teams out of it, like the first 2 years. Under Mike McDaniel, like their running backs were 28th in yards generated before contact. They had a litany of injuries already to a bad offensive line on paper. Their most frequent unit was on the field for only 35% of their snaps last year. We hope that James Daniels and Savi can kind of shore up the interior of that offense, which was really bad. They couldn't replace Robert Hunt last year. Austin Jackson missed half the season. De'Von Achane had really great splits with and without Austin Jackson. But, if they're going to get anything is back, like it all starts with that run game, the bread and butter of Mike McDaniel, that motion run game. And if they're able to run the football better, that now opens up all of these other things that you talk about. Because Tua threw the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage at the highest rate in the NFL last year, down the field at the lowest rate. All these things. They had 3 passing touchdowns outside of the red zone last year. That just can't happen with all these. Like, this is a Madden team. This is how you built Madden rosters. I'm going to sort by one attribute and one attribute only. Give me all the fast dudes. And they had scored 3 touchdowns outside the red zone, passing touchdowns. That just can't happen with this roster. Jonnu's gone. There's a reason Jonnu and Achane had to catch all, or have all those targets last year. So if they're going to open this back up, then that opens up a bounce back for Hill. It opens up a bounce back for Waddle. I'm really high on Waddle from a dynasty stance because we've already seen him be
finally someone.
Yeah, he caught a. I'm higher in redraft and higher in dynasty. This dude caught 100 passes in a terrible situation as a rookie. We've already seen his splits without Tyreek. I mean, he's run 246 routes without Tyreek Hill on the field since they've added Tyreek Hill, and he's just under 3 yards per out run on those. This is a guy that can absolutely play and be a wide receiver one. He's also got to stay a little bit on the field here. He has the old Julio Jones gene where anytime he makes a catch, he's holding something, and we're like, come on, buddy.
He must have a drug problem, and they keep it in the blue medical tent.
He's got to keep getting back. Oh, Mike McDaniel, I said he's out here slinging cocaine apparently.
And he's got the fucking bags in the tent, and he's just.
But that's where it all starts, though. But I do think Waddle is the supreme buy because he's got a lot of outs. I think because he checks a box. I did a show at Dwayne where we talked about year 4 and year 5 guys that beat ADP, and typically it's either a guy changing team or they get a new quarterback or a target earner leaves their roster, and that checks a box here with Jonnu leaving the roster. We know they're not going to play a lot of 3 wide receiver stuff. That's just not what this system does. Whether it be Shanny, whether it be Kubiak, whether it be Mike McDaniel, they're just not going to play a lot of 11. Also, if this thing does really implode on itself. Is Tyreek this year's Devontae Adams? Does he get moved at some point in the season? That makes me Washington a lot more interesting too. Like if because I think if they're punting the season, basically Malik Washington then steps up into that role. So yeah, so it all starts though with that run game, and if they're able to push people back.
Can you clip every nice thing you said about Jalen Waddle, and please send that to Patrick, Corinne, and Peter Overzet for the remaining main event drafts that I have to do with them when they continue to 2v1 me out of Jalen Waddle shares, like just every day. That'd be really appreciated.
You remind me that
we'll get one Thursday night with Scott Jacob. We can definitely 2v1 Scott on one. Or Scott likes Waddle too. So yeah,
I've been trying and failing to get Jalen Waddle on these main event teams, and just been getting 2v1 onto Jameson Williams all year. Anyway, I think the only pushback I have on you, and I agree with everything you said structurally, is I think in the world in which the Dolphins suck as a team and suck as an offense,
everything
suck
dies.
as a concept, I think that it's still awesome for fantasy. Because like last year,
yeah, well, we didn't
really
talk about the defense either.
Because like last year, like what changed obviously was who was good for fantasy and how they were good for fantasy.
True,
but they were still good for fantasy when Tua played. Like the games that Tua missed, obviously black hole, horrible, terrible. It's remains preposterous that they have the most injury-prone quarterback in the league, and they continue to like have backups that are complete goofballs. Like the Zach Wilson stuff, get serious.
Literal Zach Wilson, yeah.
like just be serious one time, Miami Dolphins. Like they've never once been serious in their lives. But if we just assume that Tua plays, or for however many games he plays, I still think in some capacity there will be a lot of fantasy value here because last year we had Achane, when Tua was playing, was like the RB1 overall, basically. I think he literally had the highest points per game if you just select only the games Tua played. Jonnu went from being a sometimes drafted player in seasonal leagues to being one of the most important tight ends in fantasy football over the second half of the season. And obviously Tyreek was a massive whiff at cost, but like was still a serviceable fantasy asset as basically the third option in the offense. So I still think there will be fantasy points here is basically my main take. And I think that I found that some people in the community are over adding the bearishness on the Dolphins as a team to bearishness on them as a vessel for fantasy production. And my personal view is best case scenario, they try to get back to 2023 Dolphins and everybody wins. Worst case scenario, Jonnu's gone. The fly in the ointment is gone. So even if they have to become this like weird short area, empty calorie spam team, like that works for De'Von Achane in the way that it worked for him last year. I think that one of Tyreek or Waddle has to take on a lot of that Jonnu short area work as the secondary target, and it'll work really well for them. And I think probably there's enough left over since it's going to be so condensed on the three playmakers that in my view, like, yeah, there's an outcome where everybody gets fired. They go 7-10. The defense is preposterous. Their secondary is the worst thing I've ever seen. But I still think you're starting 3 Dolphins in fantasy lineups this year and you're happy about it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have put it better. I feel like me and Jacob certainly have come to this. I think Rich has as well, that it really feels like Achane kind of wins either way, which is why he's like the main one that I really want to be betting on with the Dolphins, like as opposed to like taking a big stance on Tyreek Hill at ADP. I would just rather have a lot of Achane because I feel like I'm covered either direction this offense goes that way. And the only other thing I wanted to say, which just speaks to how consolidated this could be, Darren Waller still hasn't practiced. Remember when he signed with the team like a month ago? And that was like a topic that we had to talk about for a week because that was when there was no news happening. It's still Darren Waller still has not been on the practice field as of August 19th. So that's something.
Shocked. Absolutely shocked. I mean, dynasty drafters are right there with Achane. I mean, he's going in the last month since July 19th to today. He's the RB5 at the 212. He's just steadily climbed. So dynasty drafters, according to Dynasty Data Lab, are right there with you. And even guys like Waddle are very affordable. Like Waddle is.
Yeah. I would trade Rashee Rice for Jalen Waddle in a heartbeat right now. Yes.
Like Waddle's wide receiver 33 right now. He's behind guys like Chris Olave, Golden, and he's going just ahead of like Evans and Pearsall.
I guarantee you, like in 2 years, we revisit this, he'll be higher.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Like fantasy points has been insanely high on Waddle, I believe, all offseason, if I'm not mistaken. Like we're right there with you. Of course, like you said, Waddle is somebody, maybe Achane as well. Just new coaches are weird about running backs when they like come into a situation. So should they be looking for a new head coach and a new quarterback? Like I have been believing, this has been my take, Rich, pretty much most of the offseason is like there's a better chance that they need a new quarterback and head coach in 2026 than those guys are staying around. Waddle's the guy that I think survives that. So I'm right there with you. I think people should be all in on Waddle, paying whatever the price is, go knock on every door. We've had people in the chat saying like, he gets hurt, he doesn't finish it. It's always been the game with him. You're 50-50 chance that he's finishing the game. Like that's just how it is. But in games he finishes, he's generally unreal as long
and
as
those are things that are just like, it's predictable till it isn't, right? Like you're injury prone to you aren't, and same thing. Like I try to be as injury agnostic for a player that's not actually hurt right now.
Yeah,
you would love to see Tua protect himself a little bit better and put himself into better situations. But what if he just does stay healthy for a whole season?
Yeah, then it's wheels up, right?
I'm still just absorbing this Jalen Waddle over Rashee Rice. I assume you mean in Dynasty.
In Dynasty.
Yeah, okay.
Because now he's falling behind him, but I think Rashee Rice is a great redraft pick. I know Jacob doesn't. That's why I said that while he was off the field. But I think from a dynasty stance, though, and it's something I talked with Harmon about too. Like Rashee Rice feels very similar to when we pumped Juju Smith-Schuster up. Like they're very similar archetype of players. And if the Chiefs ever get like a player that has actual like route running nuance paired with him, that's when you might not see him like operate in the same capacity that he has over like these 9 full games that he's played the last 2 years. So he feels very Juju Smith-Schuster-esque when we put him at wide receiver 1 at one point. And those types of receivers that don't win as wide receivers, like almost always get weeded out. I guarantee you Rashee Rice scores more points than Josh Downs the next 2 years. But I think over the next 10 years, Josh Downs outscores him because he's a better football player. He's a better football player.
Your take is the moral arc of the universe bends towards Josh Downs.
Like I can see everything. I can see everything you just said. I can see the scenario where Rice like gets alphaed if the Chiefs finally decide to get serious about adding like a real wide receiver. But to me, it's like really hard to trade away the guy that is averaging like 18 to 19 fantasy points per game for the guy that isn't. And I'm almost with you in that 2 years from now, would I be that shocked if Waddle is just consensus easy higher in Dynasty? No, but like that's a lot of fantasy points between then and now that you could be giving up. So I don't know. I can't quite get there, but like I understand like the spirit of the take, I guess. Yeah.
Let me put it together though, because remember when we talk a lot about these trades where it's like, oh, Rich, you say I would trade Rice. The best part is you never actually have to make that deal. It's never just one for one in that scenario. So if you're, if you're that into it, imagine the potential for the take who's cheaper and get the pluses that you can stacked onto receivers going. We got Waddle at the 801 and Rashee Rice is going at the 411. That is some sweet pluses if you are truly in that bag. And that's including
the two things as a dynasty player that I've learned over the years is one, even being the Konami code guy, is anytime that one of these mobile guys comes to the NFL that can't throw, you got to get out on that guy. You got to trade him while it's apex. Anthony Richardson, like the second he was going like 104 in like super flex leagues, like that was like, dude, you got to move. You got to move on this guy because eventually you have to be able to throw the football in the NFL. It doesn't matter how athletic you are. And then these wide receivers, if a wide receiver already, like Ladd is the inverse of this, right? Like Ladd has already showed us, like I've already said, like I think like even his pie in the sky outcome could be like Antonio Brown-esque, right? Like, but that's obviously lofty, but because he wins in that capacity, like he wins at everywhere you want a receiver to win. Rashee Rice is the opposite of this. Like everything is kind of manufactured for him, and he doesn't really win with any like actual wide receiver nuance. And those guys have always been kind of red flags, right? Like, so yes, he is at an apex right now, but he's the archetype of dude. Like I could easily see him like Juju Smith-Schustering us.
So my question would be, what about Rashee Rice to this point in his career? Now, granted, it's a really small sample because he's been hurt. He's a rookie.
Thanks, Mahomes.
It's Mahomes.
What would you say has been meaningfully different in Rashee Rice's profile to this point in his career than like Amon-Ra St. Brown through his first 2 years?
Oh, Amon-Ra is like an amazing route runner, though. Like, I think if you would compare like any like work like Harmon's done from Rashee Rice compared to like early career Amon-Ra, it's just not even close.
But Amon-Ra early career, I'm pretty sure like he's gotten better. I could be wrong. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I feel like early career, like rookie year, second year, the man coverage stuff for Amon-Ra was not great. Might have been better than Rice's, but I don't recall it being very impressive. Like his zone beating stuff was always elite. I mean, Rashee Rice was literally the 99th percentile against zone. So I feel like he's obviously is like a specialized player, but to me, as long as he's in this system, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking
that's the other flip of the coin is the Mahomes factor, right? Like, because I don't think either of those guys are really great receivers. And we'll see, you know, how Worthy develops in year 2. But like those guys are absolutely pumped up because of the attachment to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, you're going to get that pass rate stuff we talked about. Like the Chiefs would trot out McCole Hardman and Sky Moore and put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands 40 times. Like it don't matter.
Yeah, what we really have to pray for is that Matt Nagy finally leaves. I mean, that to me, that's the part that's we got to get that guy out of there. Like there's correlation between Mahomes' dip and Matt Nagy showing up, and I don't care what anybody tells me that is the sole reason. Please give us our Patrick Mahomes king back, please. We need it desperately. And anything else on these Dolphins boys? Oh, no, Ryan's giving me this shake. No, he wrote the show sheet. That means it's time to go. I've got a couple of questions starred. We've got a few. We'll see if we can get any more as we go. But don't go anywhere. Real quick break this time. When we come back, we've got a Q&A with our boy Rich. Don't go anywhere. Told you it was pretty.
That was the shortest break in human history.
Well, that's what as we get later into the show, I like to reward the people with shorter and shorter breaks. We appreciate everyone tuning in with us. It's August 19th at 11 p.m. Eastern time, and we have this many people rocking with us right now. We have to reward them because they are the greatest fans.
I mean, Jacob's already gotten snacks and
Well,
like you guys do this later than I do, man. This is a 6:30 start. This is a 2-hour show in the middle of my dinner time, and I won't take judgment for that.
Jacob,
I'm drinking caffeine to stay awake right now. Is the difference between you and me, Jacob? Jacob's drinking a beer. It's
past Ryan's bedtime, and it's unfortunate because we've got a little bit to go yet. We have some questions here in the chat. I've got them started out. Let's start with Cordero Reynolds, who sounds like a relief pitcher for the Cardinals. Thoughts on Flacco in week 1?
Sick GPP play.
I've even thought about just drafting Jerome Ford for 1 week. That Bengals defense could be so bad.
We can tie this in with James Bean as well. Would love rich input on the 2025 Browns. I've been high on Tillman in both Dynasty and Underdog all offseason. Don't understand the low price. The people, Rich, need to hear some takes on the Browns and Joe Flacco now that he's announced the week 1 starter.
Yeah, I always get considered being a Browns fan because I'm in Cleveland, but I actually am not a Cleveland Browns supporter. Their organization actually is in Baltimore right now, if you do want to root for them. They're an expansion team that just took on the colors of another organization that departed. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard to just get behind like this the quarterback room, right? It's just really hard. I do think Stefanski also wants to get back to running the football a little bit more. I think that's why they drafted Harold Fannin. They want to run a little bit more two tight end stuff. It's probably, I think when you're talking about like Tillman, he's probably at least third on the team in targets, right? Because you've got Judy and you've got David Njoku. So it's really kind of tough the way the state of this offense is to really support the third target. Unless Dorian Thompson-Robinson comes back as high school quarterback, because he was peppering him when DTR it was the only dude DTR could throw to in his NFL sample. So maybe we get him back. But I do agree. I'm not going to push back on the price. Like if you like a wide receiver 60, who am I to yuck your yum?
Yeah, I mean, at least he's going to have routes, right?
Yeah.
He's going to run 85 to 92% of the routes. So it's fine there. I don't get the dynasty appeal, really. He seems like a clogger to me, but in like a best ball draft as your wide receiver 6, like A-okay to me.
See, I
better take him than like Xavier Leggett. He might lose his job.
Yeah. 100%. See, I have been all in on the Jerry Jeudy train in Dynasty all off season. I could not believe that they were going to roll out either Sanders or Gabriel, and I had a hard time believing it would be Pickett.
They will at some point.
They will at some point.
At some point, I completely agree with you. But
enjoy Flacco while you got him.
Brother, that 6-week stretch with Jerry Jeudy is going to bring me to life. It's going to feed me for quite a while. But I just think he's, hashtag good at his price. So I've been all in on it. I want to know what happens with Judkins. I think that everything changes if they actually hammer out or when they hammer out a contract and he actually
it's getting
some reps.
It's getting dicey. Like
suspiciously taking a while.
I was really low on Judkins when the legal stuff first came out. I was obviously misreading how that would go with the criminal justice process. So I moved him way up once it got dismissed, in particular, based on like the very detailed reasoning of why it got dismissed. But the latest update, right, that like they're not going to come to a contract anytime soon. They're going to conclude the NFL investigation first. Like there's risk of a suspension. This is kind of bringing me back to where I was a couple of weeks ago, which is really hard for a rookie to join a team middle of the season, not having been in the building, not having practiced. It's just tough. So we'll see what happens with Judkins, but I'm kind of remaining bullish on Sampson, and I guess not as bullish on Ford, but for week 1, I'm bullish on Ford.
I don't want any part of Ford except for that week 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe week 1.
Hard not to love that.
There's not a person on this podcast panel I wouldn't start against the Bengals, I think, right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could
that was pathetic. Last night.
On,
I mean, oh my God.
Let me get my shoulder pads back on. Right, I might have to stretch a little bit, but I think I could. That JCM touchdown, I was sitting there thinking, like, I love how much like Twitter and the hype machine is like pumping this dude up, but I was like, any self-respect. I was like, you had to be Mike.
And the same for the Rodriguez 40-yard run. Like those were like the 2 easiest splash plays I've ever seen. It was like 30-yard touchdown and a 40-yard run, like just against nobody, just like right through the hole. That was wild. Yeah. Like playing college football, and I have like Oregon, and I'm playing against like FCS Southwest, and I'm just running inside zone for 40 yards.
I loved it for that, and I loved like the confirmation bias that everyone had that JCM was like dope and awesome, and if you like Rodriguez, it was that. But it's like
Tom, you gotta get it on JCM, man. You're gonna be on the wrong side of history.
No, that's what you're not understanding. I just drafted him ahead of you, and I've been buying, but I just love the objectively speaking. You'd have to be Mike Sellers to not score on that. Like that was objectively terrible.
I would have got 6 on that play for sure. I would have got you a good 6.
Yeah.
Algo Jin says, I would definitely love to hear you guys debate whether or not Shane Steichen will remain the Colts head coach at the end of this season.
This is right, Jacob's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think the odds are very unlikely. New owner, obviously tragedy struck the Irsay family this offseason. So we get Carly Gordon Irsay, a very funny acronym, CGI, is now the owner of the Indianapolis Colts. And I think that, the stakes are pretty clear, I think, this season. If they make the playoffs, Ballard and Steichen keep their jobs. If they don't, neither keeps their jobs. That's not a very good way to organize a football team, to have your head coach and general manager just like free to exhibit moral hazard all over the roster for an entire year out of a desire for self-preservation. Obviously, the entire way that they spent this offseason was a complete joke. They had 1 foot in, 1 foot out the whole year, trying to pretend to the fan base like Anthony Richardson was someone they were still invested in, where they had pretty clearly moved on in their minds. That prevented them from finding an actual solution at quarterback this offseason. When Sam Darnold was available, Geno Smith was available for trade. They could have drafted Shedeur Sanders in like the 4th round if they wanted to. They could have drafted Milroe in the 3rd round. They could have drafted Darnold in the 1st round. They didn't do any of that because they wanted to keep up the illusion that they still cared about Anthony Richardson. And now we're all going to waste, the next 4 months of our lives watching Daniel Jones, I guess, until they bench him for AR, which will also be a waste of our time. So the entire Colts season was a waste of everybody's time. They're going to go like 7-10 or 8-9. Shane Steichen's going to enjoy seeing his operation run smoothly in the huddle, and everyone's just worse off for it. I pity Jonathan Taylor, DeForest Buckner, and Quentin Nelson for being part of this complete farce of an organization.
Just remember, Daniel Jones is going to give him the best chance to win.
That might be true. I mean, I don't even like debate that. Like, I'm not like doing this from like an Anthony Richardson is good truther perspective. Like, it's just that the way that they treated this offseason was like purely around gaslighting fans that they still believed in Anthony Richardson when they didn't. And that's why instead of finding like a real long-term solution, their solution is Daniel Jones, which is like obviously not a solution. So it's just like, I don't even blame Steichen. Like, I get why Shane Steichen did what he did. He has a clear mandate. His mandate is 7 seed or I'm fired. If he thinks Daniel Jones gives him the best chance at the 7 seed, I think that's like totally plausible. It's just irresponsible. The organization put someone in position to make that decision based on those inputs. Like, either he should have just been fired last year and they bring in a new regime and a new quarterback, or they should have told him, look, we're not going to judge you based on wins and losses. We're going to judge you based on how you evaluate Anthony Richardson, and he's your starting quarterback this year. Those were the 2 reasonable options to me.
That's more level-headed from you than I think anybody expected, but I respect that, Jacob. Tommy James says 12 teams start 8. 1 quarterback, PPR 0.75. Titan Premium Dynasty. How early is too early to draft a quarterback? I don't play in any 1 quarterback league, so if anybody has an answer for this, please, because I am not that guy. Rich, what do you have?
I mean, if it's a startup for me, I'm probably just loading up as many receivers as I possibly can. So, but
it's only start 8.
It is, I guess. Yeah, 12 teams start 8. That's too light for a dynasty league. I would definitely push to add more starting requirements for a dynasty league. But maybe everyone's new, right? Like maybe it's everyone's first time, and maybe they're going to expand it as it goes. I don't know, because if everyone's doing it with 1 quarterback too, right? Which you just never see in dynasty anymore. Maybe it's just a brand new league. Everyone's trying to get introduced to dynasty.
I love the 0.75 tight end premium though. That is lit. You're on the right track there.
It's like randomly the sicko setting of 0.75 tight end premium, and everything else is not.
I mean, I'll tell you what, 0.75 tight end premium dynasty, 1 QB start 8. Like, it should be like Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, like the first 2 picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Then
tight end is so unbelievably valued by that like hyper weird format that I would be doing everything I could to get one of those 2.
Right. But I'm just not touching quarterback till like the 10th round, the 12th round probably. I'm good there.
I mean, I think you're okay to click the elites in like late round 3, kind of like in like a 1 quarterback redraft league, but that's how I would think of the QB position there.
Start 8, it's like raw points, man. I'd be looking at trying to, like, to me, if I'm in a start 8 league and I could find a way to start my draft, Bowers or McBride in the 1st, and then Allen or Lamar or Jaden in the 2nd, and I just win the onesies for eternity in this like rinky-dink league, and then I'll just figure out the other 6 positions. I'm doing that personally.
Fair. I think that's totally fair. Miles Young says, should I trade Puka for Achane and Caleb Johnson? Got Jettas, JSN, and Rice, Trevion, and Bucky. This feels super light to me. I would not do this.
No for me, dog.
Not doing that.
Absolutely not.
We're going to talk about Puka on the Dynasty Points market report and his hyper fragility. Like the moment Stafford might have been like cast as dead, literally, everyone was like, saying you should get out now. So
This offseason's been something, man, and I say that every year. But like people's brains have gotten broken this summer.
right. I agree.
I just don't think we were supposed to have all this information. I think we were better off without it.
Yes, I've been saying this that
But Larry and Jihad now.
Oh my goodness, Dustin Ross, fellow Canadian,
man.
fellow Winnipegger, actually.
Oh,
It has been
Justin
fun.
Fields died for a day, like at one point this summer.
right.
Stepped on his
Yeah.
toes, catastrophic. Then it
I
was
think it's legit different though, like especially in like these summer best ball drafts where ADP reacts so fast. Like people are so insanely overreactive to every piece of information that we get. It just, I don't know. It's very different. It's the attention economy as applied to fantasy football as it's applied to everything in life now. But it's very different. I don't know how to exploit it, but it's weird.
and then
we talked. We didn't really like get into the weeds on JCM, but like, where is he going now in drafts?
Well, we just took him
my
in the 8th
gosh.
round of the main event for $2,200.
Wow,
there's your answer. There it is. There
as
it
a
is.
starter.
As our RB3, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's high, but
Yeah. So we're in on Bill. We're in on Bill. History
that's the
will judge us
analysis.
kindly.
That's the analysis. That's high.
You're getting the chloroform. Like, oh my god!
Insane.
I mean,
Uh,
I was hammering Krosky Mary. I have him like at every rookie draft too. I was just telling Thomas before we got on. I'm in the Kings Classic Dynasty, was just drafted last weekend, and I took him at 306, and feel good about that. But like, I'm curious to see. I was just curious to see where he jumps, where he gets to.
I was telling everybody in the Fantasy Points Discord, I think by week 3 it's a 1 or nothing. Like I truly believe that it's going to get to that point. Or as I mentioned, all of this is going to be for nothing, and Rodriguez is a guy that and everyone ends up needing, because we've talked on the show a lot. Whenever we think we know who the backup running back going to vault into the starting role is going to be, we're always wrong. So just draft both and you'll be okay.
I'm not drafting Chris Rodriguez.
I'll tell you what, man.
I got to pick up with Rich. I have
The
to.
range of outcomes between last night when I'm like, what if we drafted Bill here? And everybody's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. To where I now admit to you guys what we just did, and people look like we just committed, heresy against the Church of Rome.
Well, I thought maybe it was like a wide receiver heavy build, or because I know you guys are like big pro Bowers guys at like early first in that format. So I just didn't know if you were chasing, and like it was one of those things like, hey, we're chasing, we got to shoot.
No, it was that we like this guy. We think he's going to be a 6th round pick in 2 weeks. is our view, but we'll see. Yeah.
6th round would be aggressive. I'm curious now because
where'd James Robinson get up to really late?
What's that?
Where did James Robinson get up to in really, really late main event drafts when Fournette got cut that year? Because that's kind of what we're likening it to.
Yeah, I think the problem is for JCM is that we don't know if he's going to have goal line carries, which he may or may not, right? And we know he's not going to play passing downs. The other thing is, like, this is a team that's probably going to have 150 non-running back runs when you count Jaden Daniels plus Debo. And also you think of last year, because remember, they kind of surprised everyone. They had like a really light schedule, and they took advantage of it. They were only 19th in running back runs last year, and that was with leading for the 7th most snaps in the NFL. So I just don't know if there's like as much volume as people think. And then if he doesn't have touchdowns, he doesn't have path to receptions because Eckler's there. Like, is there?
I think he's gonna have a lot of touchdowns. I think the touchdowns, yes, because Daniels. I mean, Kingsbury gives so many running back carries at the goal line. Like, their running back rush rate at the goal line last year was way higher than you'd expect for a team with a mobile quarterback. My view on JCM is just wherever you're drafting Brian Robinson, which I mean I wasn't, but wherever you thought Brian Robinson should be picked, just 1 round higher is where I would take JCM. Because
we just did like our avoid show like 2 weeks ago at JJ, and Brian Robinson was on my list of not drafting at once all summer.
No, I mean I wasn't interested in B-Rob, but like I don't know. To me,
now I'm scared because now he can come back and haunt me. Now it's like, Jesus.
I know. Well, that's what I'm so frustrated by is that I thought he was like the worst process pick imaginable the whole summer, and now he's going to get 220 carries on the freaking Texans. But,
or the Bears, or he goes to the Bears and just scores all their
Bears,
touchdowns.
The Cowboys. Like,
he's new Jamal Williams.
All of it is going to be so frustrating to me.
Somebody's going to get really annoyed by their favorite sleeper late round running back getting nerfed by Brian Robinson. It's going to be nightmare fuel on the internet. Justin Ross says, it's been far too long since I heard any Jacob golf takes. Favorite course to play that doesn't break the bank?
It's a good question. I'm assuming he means in Manitoba.
Because in BC, the answer is no course.
Yeah.
That doesn't break the bank. I think, you know what? I'll go with the fly-in. I always have a good time at the fly-in. Steinbach, for those who don't know, Manitoba Golf. Always nicely capped. There's a lot of chances for birdies in terms of like a nice course that lifts you up at the end of the day instead of pushes you down at the end of the day. You're going to have your opportunities there. Some par fives you can get home 2 and 2. Always have a good time at the fly-in. It's closer than you think.
All right. I like that pick. I like Larders. If I had to pick one, I always have a good time there. Yeah, it's a good course there. I'm terrible, but I have fun either way. Justin,
I golfed 18 for the first time in my life this last weekend. It did not go well. I felt very washed and out of shape. Like I could literally not even walking, like with carts by hole 15, I was dragging. It was
really?
Good. It was 88 degrees to be fair, but I don't know what that is in Celsius for you Canadians, but it was very hot outside.
It's like -5. Justin says Bill a 26-2. He said, I'm guessing that's 2:26 seconds, or Kenneth Walker in a 12-team Dynasty Superflex full PPR.
Bill in the twos. I'll take Bill in the twos.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I'm there. Rich?
Yeah, I think so too. I really love Kenneth Walker, the player, but the biggest problem with Kenneth Walker, the player, is Kenneth Walker, the player. Like, he just has such a violent style. Like, it's the same thing with Pacheco, right? Like, of course, this dude gets hurt all the time. He hurts himself. The one thing we brought up, Puka plays like this too. Like, Puka has like the Anquan Bolden gene where I'm like, dude, you gotta chill out. Like you're made of flesh and bones, dude.
If it was like Bill and a 1, I'd love it. Like, it's like 3 2s for Ken Walker to me. Like,
that is true. You are cashing out like immediately on just.
I don't want to cash out on Bill, man. I'm a believer. I'll be on the right side of history. You guys can be the doubters.
Well, it's just one of those things. Like our guy Edwin, like in 21, 22, and 24, he had foot and ankle issues, and it's just back in 2025. Like, this man, just his feet may have just Will Fullered him. Like that, but it might be the situation we're talking about with the Will Fuller type thing. I like Walker as well, but I don't mind this price at all. If you want to get out, Also, he'll be a Chief next year too. We'll put Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
What a backfield they're gonna have next year. It's gonna be absolutely insane. Legend of Krakota says, "What is Herbert's value in a trade? Would Herbert plus Hill equal Burrow?"
Oh man, that's an awesome trade to make, because I would way rather have Burrow, but I wonder if you could get that done, because that's like a scenario where it feels like you're getting a big ad, but really you look up in 2 years and you just traded Justin Herbert for Joe Burrow straight up.
Right.
I think that could probably be closer to 1 year, and you're looking at it that way. I don't think it's enough.
It could be week 4. I mean,
I think you probably need to add even more to that. Like, Tyreek Hill's got some value, but that's not even fake overpay. Add a second and, like, I don't know, Keon Coleman. I think you call it a day. That's more of a fake overpay to me than that one. And I would also do that, like Jacob said.
Yeah. The Burrow owners slamming that down though. Like, that's not happening.
Absolutely. That's why you gotta add in some fake overpays there. Sean, Jacob wants to know, is there going to be a Thinking About Thinking Dynasty rankings update before the season? I'm going to take Jacob.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you will. Yes, I promise you will. It's been it's all redraft all the time right now. I understand that our Dynasty subscribers sometimes feel left out in the cold in August, and I apologize to them. But it is like every day redraft ranking updates, every day best ball ranking updates, every day home league and FFPC ranking updates. So yes, once things calm, which they are, preseason is coming to a conclusion. I promise you, before the season, we will have a full Dynasty rankings update.
I updated my Dynasty ranks on fantasypoints.com the other day, and Tom says to me, "Wait, you're still doing that? I didn't know we were still actually updating those."
You're not supposed to air that. All right, that is.
So yes, those are updated. You can go check out my dynasty rankings as well.
Now I feel like I got to play defense. It's not because I don't want to do it. I'm still updating the tier chart right now. It's just there was some confusion on how the system was going to work. I just want to point that out. I haven't forgotten the people. Thanks, Ryan. Jeez, it's always your own. I brought you onto this show to back me up, not to Caesar me. Jesus. Marv versus, I'm going to guess that's Igbuka, Dart, and a second. Think I want out on Marv. I think Kyler sucks, and maybe my last chance out to organization also agrees that Kyler sucks. Is Igbuka, Dart, and a 2 enough to move off Marv? For me, it is very quickly.
In Superflex?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Superflex, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if the other owner would be willing to do it at this point in time. Like, especially with how Dart's been looking so far in the preseason, they're drinking that Kool-Aid.
I mean, it's a quarterback named Dart. Like, he's not going to fail. Like, this is the analysis. Hashtag analysis. The guy is named Dart.
And that's what made him a first-round Devy pick for years originally before he sucked and then got better.
I will take the Igbuka Dart side of this, but I will say on Kyler, no guaranteed money on his contract after 2026, which is kind of sneaky there. So I don't know.
We might on the Chiefs.
That he might be on the Chiefs. Marv might be on the Chiefs. We might be doing we're doing a Marvin Harrison face turn next offseason. Book it right now.
Unbelievable. Clay says, I have the first pick. Would you double up on Chase and Brown? I'm assuming this is one of those.
This is a redraft question.
This is the dilemma Chase 101 drafters always have, is that the 2-3 turn, Higgins and Chase Brown are like the two best guys available.
I do it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it in that type of offense. You do lower like your inherent floor, but it's two players that just on a blanket stance makes sense to add.
Yeah, right. I'm totally cool with it. I've been advocating it all summer. That's like a totally fine start, and is what I've been telling people that are worried about not taking a running back at the top of drafts. Chase Brown's going to be there for you at the turn.
I just never worry about the teammate stuff very much in like a 12-person redraft league. Right. The percentile outcome you have to hit is not that high. To me, it's just if Chase Brown's the highest player on your board, take Chase Brown. If he's not, then don't. But I wouldn't factor Chase into it all that much.
I agree. All right, that's going to do it for our audio listeners. Unfortunately, if you want 5 for 5, you have to go to YouTube this time. Look, we've given you the best game in fantasy football for weeks here leading up. This specific 5 for 5, you have to go to YouTube. So if you're listening to this podcast anytime after the 19th of August, you will have to go to fantasypoints.com over there and get the YouTube. All right. That being said, that means it's time for the greatest game in fantasy football when we come back from the last break right after this. Another quick one, by the way, Jacob, do not run off. Yes, there has been an update here on the page. The Gremlins were fed after midnight. They got a little bit bigger as they got their third win, overtaking two hosts on the show, which I got to say, as the back-to-back champion and runaway leader in wins, is embarrassing. You guys got to get your game up. But here we are, the chat. The Gremlins have 3 wins. Lucas still sitting with 2.5, and our crash out king, Ryan Heath, sits there with 2 as I again walk away. The host next year with 13 wins so far in 5 for 5. Jacob, Rich, first time playing the game. We're probably going to have some new viewers here this week. Let's do a quick rundown of the rules before we dive right in. And I remove the chat from being on screen. As Rich, we must minimize the chat.
All right. Here's 5 for 5. This will be my second last time hosting 5 for 5 because I will be at Oasis next week. So the September 3rd or 2nd, whatever that version is of the show, will be my last time in the host chair. I'm going to shed a tear. Here's how 5 for 5 works. There are going to be a total of 5 players. Each player has up to 5 clues that I will read about them. The earlier you guess it in the succession of clues, the more points that you get. The last player is worth double. Although, if necessary, this show has been known to make it worth triple. Um, every week there's a theme. The other rule is the chat is going to be guessing at the same time. The chat specific rules are I only accept up to 3 guesses from the chat per round. Of course, you guys only get 1. And you guys win any tiebreaker. So if you guess it on the same round, the person wins. I'll also note, Rich, if you pass on a round, you don't guess at all. Other people guess that round and they're wrong. You get to guess before them the next round. So there is some strategic value in not guessing if you just have no clue. All right. Every week there's a theme to the 5 players. And this week has been all about Corey Krosky-Merritt. So every one of these players shares something in common with Jacory Krosky-Merritt. They're all different things, but some attribute. Basically, like if I was to do a 5 for 5 on Jacory Krosky-Merritt, these 5 players, but each have one of the 5 clues, is the way that I would think about it. So maybe you'll start to piece it together over time what those different elements are. All right, everybody, close the chat, and our first clue of our first player is thus: drafted in the 3rd round of the 2009 draft, this player set the record at University of Central Florida for receptions in a season.
I heard 2009 and I gave up. I'm going to be honest.
Well, it's good to have that fighting spirit.
Yeah, that was quick.
UCF?
All right, here you go. 5.
I don't know. It's pre-Gabe Davis.
All right. Nothing from the chat. Nothing from you guys. We're going to clue number 2. That's no problem. All right. Sorry. I don't know if this would have changed anyone's guesses. That was incorrect of mine. He was not in the 2009 draft. He was in the 2007 draft. I misread that because in the 2009 NFL season, this player had over half of his career receiving yards. So I'll just recap everything so far. It was drafted 2007, round 3 out of UCF. That's when he had the team record. 2009 had over half of his NFL receiving yards for his career.
That's like a big difference.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Kevin Smith, is it?
No.
It's not Kevin Smith.
The only UCF receivers
Okay.
I can think of are Gabe Davis and Traquan Smith. Were the only 2 guys I was thinking.
I think I know
both too late.
I know the connection.
Let's hear it, Thomas.
It's the acronym. This is Mike Sims Walker.
That's
Oh.
correct. It is the hyphenated name that he shares in
hyphenated
common with
name.
Jacory
Nice.
Krosky-Merritt. Mike Sims Walker for 4
NSW.
points.
Madden
Nick
legend.
Fury
by
got
the
that
way.
basically right,
Yeah.
like almost identical to the same time that you did.
A Madden legend, no
4
doubt.
points for Tipple.
I thought that
4
guy was
points. Shout out to Mike Sims Walker. All right. That was an unreal guess. Okay. This is a wide receiver from the University of Temple.
Oh God,
Oh,
there is
Or
there
Temple
is-
University.
there's a
I'm
white
not really
defensive
sure how
back.
they style themselves.
I feel like there's been one relevant wide receiver from Temple in the last 10 years, and I can't think of who it is. No clue.
All right. I'm getting nothing from you guys. I'm getting nothing from the chat. We're going to clue number 2. All right. This player has one of the lowest body mass indexes in NFL history at his position, standing 6'3", 185 pounds.
Robbie Anderson.
That's correct. I'll shout out to Hallen. Also got it, but a little bit too late. Probably on the lag. You get the points, Rich, for 4 points. And what does he share in common
Unreal.
with Jacory Krosky-Merritt?
I don't know. I just know this because I did a show at Dan Pizzuta, who graduated from Temple, and
Nice.
always talked about Robbie Anderson. It's like the only football player I know that was from there.
He of course has in common not wanting to be called by his actual name.
No, that's true.
Robbie
Yeah.
Chosen.
Oh,
Wow,
I think
what-
he was on the 49ers this camper or something.
He was,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is still with the 49ers right now.
he is like the
Chat-
spreadsheet
chat-
killer.
the
Is
chat's
he
getting
Robbie
mad because
Chosen
the
or
chat's-
Chosen Anderson
chat's,
now? I don't even know.
The chat's claiming lag effects again, but sorry, chat. The lag cometh.
I feel
And-
like I feel
And he
like
was Robbie with a Y and then was IE, right? Like, did he change it too?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Um.
I feel like the chat forgets like you win the tiebreaker, like, or we win the tiebreaker, like
Well,
you only
the chat,
win.
like, I mean, I believe, like, Hallen, like, almost certainly guessed it before that clue because there was a lag on the show. So, like, he,
Uh-oh.
I'm sure, guessed it before I read it, but that's not how
You're
it came on my
getting-
screen.
you're getting
We've been over the
exiled.
lag. Chat, like, again, you
You're
participate
setting the
in this
ranks
game.
here.
You participate in this game because I let you. You are not entitled to participation by any means. Shut up, chat. All right. This player had 310 yards and a 117 passer rating in the first NFL game that he appeared in.
I mean, when?
That's such an obscure.
When was it?
It's got to be like funny now.
I'll
Is
give
it
you
is
guys a
it
nice long leash so
I-
that we can make sure the chat doesn't get affected by lag again after all their whining?
is it Marcus Mariota?
It's not Marcus Mariota.
Oh, that's good.
A fun guess.
He had like a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
first game, I think, against Jameis, right?
Yeah, they played each other. Him and
James.
Jameis, they were
Yeah.
1-2, and they played each other.
Yeah.
Bishop Sankey had 2 touchdowns that game.
Yeah.
I think he never scored
Anybody else?
again.
Anybody else got anything? Chat's already used up the 3 guesses.
I just don't know when it was. Like, what the, or I'm trying to put the connection.
You're gonna find that out. You're gonna find that out. All right. This player was the 250th overall pick in the 2005 NFL Draft.
I was quite a bit off on the time period and the pick number.
Is that because he was Ja'Cory with 250? Was he 250? Is that what it is? The draft pick?
I'm not gonna tell you that one
All
or
right.
the other.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to. It definitely. It's got to be the connection though. I was trying to work backwards to the connection.
All right. 5,
I have no clue.
4, 3, 2, 1. And lag or no lag, the chat gets this one. Fellow 7th round pick Ryan Fitzpatrick is the answer.
Oh,
I needed
love
Harvard.
it.
Harvard
Yeah,
quarterback.
Harvard is clue 5. If we happen to get all the way to clue 5, we're going to Harvard for sure.
That's an insane poll.
Yes.
Was
and
he
the-
250 too? Was it the same draft pick?
I don't know. I highly doubt it, but I was just going for 7th round.
Just 7th rounder.
But I'll find out where he was taken. He was 245, so pretty darn
All right,
close.
close.
Very
Yeah,
close.
7th round.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's insane.
So we
to
got
get
4
this.
points for Rich, 4 points for Chat, 4 points for Tom, no points for Lucas or Ryan. All right.
Status quo, baby.
Okay. This player, this player was one of the first NFL players to put a generational title on his nameplate when it was first allowed in 2012.
Rod Smart.
Incorrect.
Steve Smith.
Incorrect.
Generational title.
Yeah, to be clear, that's just like junior, senior, third, fifth.
I thought it was just you hate me.
That's awesome. that is also generational. All right. We're moving on to clue number 2. Okay. In somewhat of the inverse of Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, This player was usurped after a successful rookie season by another out of nowhere Washington, not the Commanders at that time, running back.
It's going to be something stupid like
Is it
Alfred.
Alfred Morris? Yeah.
Fuck.
That is incorrect. Alfred Morris,
Okay,
of course,
good.
was the usurper.
Yeah.
Who
Oh.
Alfred Morris usurped.
So all three of us used our guess.
Yeah. Here you go, Rich. This is
Yeah,
you.
Rich.
Was it Roy Halou?
It is Roy Halou Jr. Rich for 3
all
points.
right.
4 points.
I didn't know if
for
it was
Roy.
senior or junior.
Rich.
I was just like,
Yes. So
Why
Rich
legend?
gets to 8. Herms also got it on that clue, but Rich gets a tie break. So 8 points for Rich, 4 for the chat, 4 for Tom. Lucas or Ryan still can tie it up with a guess on the second clue on the final question. All right. Okay. This player played basketball, defensive back, kick returner, running back, and wide receiver, leading the Lovington High School football team to a 14-0 season in his senior year. I'll add a little bit more. The Lovington, New Mexico high school team in his senior year.
Antonio Gates.
Incorrect.
No, this is going to be something really stupid.
I just heard basketball and picked a tight end.
All right. 5,
I think I know
4,
who it is, but I
2,
can't. It's going to be like a
1.
fucking linebacker.
All right. It is the fucking linebacker, the most famous
it's
member of the New Mexico Lobos, Brian Urlacher.
God
The
damn
chat
it.
gets it. Another point for the chat.
Yeah.
I
Did
knew
chat
you were gonna
win?
do something funny.
shit.
Chat won. Yeah, chat won. I couldn't pull
Damn.
that one.
There's basically one really,
Yeah,
really
I knew that one
famous
too.
other member of
I
the New
know.
Mexico Lobos other than Ja'Cory Crossy Merritt, and it is Brian Urlacher.
I remember when he got drafted too. They always talked about his basketball too.
Yeah. It's right up there with how obnoxious it is when they mention Antonio Gates. Like it's right up there.
At one time, I pitched to Matt Kelly at Player Profile to just make a basketball image if a guy played basketball. Like he had he had a
Nice.
basketball next to his name. Because
Yeah.
it used to be the thing for the tight ends. Like, does this guy play basketball?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like it was an automatic response. That was like somewhere in my like lower brainstem was just say the name of a tight end as soon as
Yeah,
Jacob
exactly.
said basketball, and I stopped listening to the rest of the clue.
Chad's
That is a bummer. That was probably the easiest one you gave too. Like on surface, like we blew it.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember. I couldn't remember the name. Like I knew it was something silly like a linebacker or a fullback just because you're trying to get one over on me for dropping Lorenzo Neal stats when I hosted. Like I get it, but I didn't expect Brian Urlacher.
It is
Yeah.
actually insane. The fact that he was a kick returner, running back, and wide receiver and defensive back in high school, and then went on to be one of the greatest linebackers of all time, which is like the only position he didn't play in high school. It's like one of the craziest things.
My favorite thing about Brian Urlacher is nothing to do with his football career. For anyone who might like MMA or that sort of thing, look up the interview with Boss Rutan, where he explains an exchange that he and Brian Urlacher had at a party, and Brian Urlacher had no idea who he was. And I'm telling you, that quick Google search will fill you with joy for the rest of the evening. It is phenomenal. Definitely look that up. Shout out to the chat. You guys won it again. You guys aren't here to give a victory speech, but if you were, I'm sure it would be something like mine, thanking your agents, et cetera, et cetera. Next week, I'm not sure what we're going to do for 5 for 5. Maybe I'll host next week for 5 for 5. Give everybody a little taste of what it is. We'll see.
Man,
We'll
I
see.
got some good ones. I'm just saying. They're sitting here. I have Taylor Swift version and non-Taylor Swift version. I am ready.
I vote for Lucas's Taylor
Luke-
Swift version.
I'm not even on the show, but Lucas, you got to make those first 2 clues easier the next time you host.
So
Yeah,
I've
much.
been taking your all's suggestions and I have been working them into my clues. So
Okay.
most of these I feel like you can get by the third clue.
All right.
So
Rich,
we're
you weren't
getting
here for
better.
it. The last time we let Lucas host, it was like this player in his sophomore year had 83 yards against Nebraska.
You know
In
what?
a rivalry game.
Michael Finley. All right, I think you're just upset with yourself.
Oh
sorry.
my gosh. Well, with that being said, Rich, thank you for hanging out with us on our regular. This is actually a shorter episode than normal. I'm sure I'm going to get some DMs complaining it wasn't long enough for people to finish cutting their grass, which is a common complaint that we get. But we love and appreciate you spending the time with us on a Tuesday night in mid-August. Very much so. For any of the subscribers that for any reason, if they're living under a rock, that may not know where to find all of your phenomenal work, please let them know where that might be.
Yeah, Sharp Football Analysis is where I'm just wrapping up the draft guide. I spent all off season putting the draft guide together, and I know people still didn't read it. So the last series I always do is just position by position who I'm targeting and drafting. So like,
Nice.
so the answers to the test. So people just want to know, hey, I'm not reading all that. I don't care about all these like league trends or anything. Just tell me who to take. I'm doing that for you this final week.
Nice.
I absolutely love that. And again, cannot stress enough. It was phenomenal to meet you in person. And
Did you have a Patronacy with us? I can't remember. Were you drinking Patronacy with us?
Rich, without
Oh God.
behind the curtain
I just
too
figured
much.
out what that is, and I didn't like the idea of it.
Yeah,
That's exactly what you think it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Without too much of the curtain, I will admit that by the end of that evening, old Tommy T here was beyond knowing what he was consuming. So chances are yes, but my ability to have great memory recall of such things is zero. But I imagine yes.
My favorite drunk Tom story, which I'll now just tell live.
Oh no. It's going to be
some of our listeners don't realize that like Tom and I met in real life before we ever did fantasy stuff together. Like we played on the same slow pitch team in Winnipeg. So when I was doing my moving away party from Winnipeg to Vancouver, it's actually not that embarrassing for Tom, but like we have a big party. Tom's one of the last people there. And at one point he just leaves. We're like, where's Tom? And it's like, I go check the basement and Tom is just like passed out on the couch. And I'm like, all right, well, good one. I get up at like maybe 8 a.m. Tom had left hours earlier. This man had like packed everything into a bag. Thing is there. He's ready to rock. He's out the door. We're at baseball. He's like absolutely chipper. Like just no one recovers the next morning after like Tipple. A true A+ recovery man. That's something to be proud of.
What's funny about that story is now how old I am, because the Airbnb house thought the same thing when I got up Saturday morning in Canton, Ohio, and I was singing and I'm good to go. I put the music back on, right? Cracked a cold one. Then I realized how much time I had before draft night out. And I was like, I'm going to go back to bed. I didn't make it draft night out. So I'm definitely feeling my age. I almost need to retire. Not great. It was not a good showing early Saturday morning for Tom, who sat there and stared at his food for a good hour and a half. It was not a good scene for me, but I appreciate the shout out and the faith in that you have in me in my older age. But again, you can obviously get all of Jacob's Thinking About Thinking content. I know it's very redraft heavy, but he did promise, if you missed it, a Dynasty Rankings update. Obviously, everything Ryan has coming out. You've got a debate with Jacob Gibbs coming up this week. Very excited for that, Ryan.
Yeah, come listen to me yell at Jacob Gibbs about Brock Bowers instead of yelling at Jacob Sanderson about Brock Bowers. For people that like me yelling about Brock Bowers, we have more of that on the feed this week.
Is Jacob Gibbs on my side of this?
Yeah, he's 100%. He's mega on your
Okay.
side. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then, of course, with the season coming around, prize picks coming back. So I'm hoping Lucas has more fun stuff for everybody on the prize pick stuff as we get into week 1, which is coming up very quick, sooner than later. I, of course, always want to shout out everybody who likes and subscribes and gets us. We're closing in on the 20K road. Oh, Jacob.
One more thing to plug. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern time, me, Ryan Heath, and Scott Barrett, we will be streaming a live main event draft on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel.
Well, seeing as how I'm pretty sure that's going to fall under things that Tom has to do, glad to know.
Oh, shit. Tom, I was totally supposed to ask you about that, and I totally spaced it. So, Jacob, thank you for bringing that up in front of Tom.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Not my fault.
That was totally my job to get a producer for that.
Tom has got something to do Thursday night.
Producer, roll the clock.
I'll see you guys then. With everybody else that's liked and subscribed, we love and appreciate all you guys. Dynasty Points reaching new highs literally every single month. And we couldn't do that without all of you guys. So with that being said, a big shout out to Rich Hribar, Jacob Sanderson, Ryan Heath, Lucas Gilbert, everybody else. Remember to check in on your loved ones, even if you are not sure that they need it. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose. At your best days are always spent tilting about really, really old Jacksonville Jaguars wide receivers. Good night, everybody.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.